Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it.
I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it.
Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it.
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that Danhausen, love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon and evening to everybody once again. What's going on? Good Mic Work Commentaries back at you with your Winged Eagle podcast for January 9th, 2021. Second podcast of the year so far. And we've got a pretty healthy episode to discuss this evening. I think that based on my notes here, we should have a fair amount of stuff to talk about, which is really good. I think we could all use that escape and to try to escape the circus that we've all been dealing with here in the last few days here in the United States. And despite all of this nonsense that's been going on here, we were really actually treated to a pretty decent week of wrestling. If you trace things back all the way back to last weekend when Wrestle Kingdom started through Monday Night Raw with a great title match there, 2 great title matches on Wednesday night, and a pretty decent SmackDown last night. Things are not that horrible in wrestling land, so we should be able to really make this a good podcast and talk about some fun stuff in wrestling. We've got a lot of news to get into too, as well as some upcoming pay-per-view events, wrestling shows that we can speculate on, fair amount of wrestling news tidbits. You got a couple of videos coming up this week from me that I can inform you guys on, and shit like that. So it should be a good day here. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Thank you to those of you that are already here waiting for me. And like I said, we got a healthy amount of stuff here on the menu. Probably going to open up like this. I'm going to get some shout outs out of the way, and I'm going to let you guys know what my 2 videos are, including one that drops tomorrow coming up this week. And then also I will then probably go into the few tidbits of wrestling news. Nothing really that important on the wrestling news side of things, except for the rumors about Jay White and possibly him leaving New Japan. I personally don't see it happening, but we'll discuss what might happen if he does decide to leave there and turn up in somewhere like, say, NXT or WWE. Might be fun to at least talk about that. We got some news on Matt and Rebby Hardy. We got a special guest ring announcer at WrestleMania 2 passed away, and it looks like WWE's got another super show, an overseas super show coming up in the future whenever COVID allows that to happen. So we got a few things to discuss there. We'll then start with SmackDown, because SmackDown last night ended with a pretty interesting angle. I don't know what is going on here, but for some reason, my uncle and my brother are both getting title shots at the Royal Rumble. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So we'll talk about the very interesting angle that dropped last night at the end of SmackDown that now leads us into the Royal Rumble, and how that's most likely going to change, and how it's going to change, and what it could possibly lead to. And there's something really interesting that I thought about last night on SmackDown based on who is kind of getting involved here, with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns already having their issue, Daniel Bryan kind of lurking about, Nakamura with a really good performance last night that might actually get Cesaro into this mix, and of course Adam Pearce we might be able to build ourselves a little Ring of Honor faction here to maybe combat what AEW might be doing with the Bullet Club. So I don't know. My brain and my wheels were spinning a lot when I was thinking about all these different possibilities. And I think what happened last night was interesting to say the least. So we'll talk about that first. Then we will roll into the Wednesday night shows, which were both really good. Unfortunately, both of those shows took a huge ratings hit, obviously, because a lot of people were glued to the news. Very dark day in our country, probably one that we're never going to forget, and such a fitting end to this administration, isn't it? It's exactly the way I thought it would go. But because of everything, all the craziness going on, wrestling here in the States took a hit. A lot of people's eyeballs were on the news and shit. So I remember I watched both shows on Wednesday, but it was hard to concentrate. My attention was not fully on it, and it sucked because both shows were set up to be pretty good. We had New Year's Evil and Holiday Bash Night 1, respectively, for NXT and AEW, and both of them had lined up some pretty good matches, including 2 title matches, which were both fantastic. I think I definitely liked Omega and Phoenix much better than Balor and O'Reilly, but Balor and O'Reilly was good too. So those were good, and on the undercards of those, there was some really interesting stuff on AEW and NXT. So I thought both shows were great, and it's a shame that we couldn't really, really, truly enjoy them. I really had trouble, concentrating, and it wasn't until yesterday, last night a little bit, me kind of going through and rewatching a couple of these matches from Wednesday made me really appreciate how really good the shows were. And it's kind of a shame that they were marred by a bunch of nonsense. So we'll get into the Wednesday night shows after that. And then we'll discuss what we might be seeing this Monday night on Raw, because some not so interesting things happened last week with Goldberg and McIntyre, but we had a great match between McIntyre and Keith Lee, and then Goldberg coming out to challenge Drew for the Royal Rumble. Really had a lot of people's heads scratching because Randy Orton spent the entire show bad-mouthing the Legends, and then Goldberg comes out at the end to confront Drew McIntyre, who didn't say a goddamn thing about the Legends, and gives him shit for not respecting them enough. That didn't make any sense. It almost felt like WWE doesn't watch their own show. So that was odd, and we'll see where that takes us this Monday for Raw, and I honestly don't want to know. I don't. We talked about this on Monday. Those of you who are here last Monday, I was up right after Raw, and we talked about the Goldberg McIntyre stuff. And you guys know me. I've got a real sour taste in my mouth with Goldberg ever since the Fiend stuff. I don't understand why they did that. And here it feels like they're putting Goldberg in position to do that again against Drew McIntyre. And, we've talked about retirement for Goldberg and possibilities like that, but the fact that this guy might have a couple of matches left in a couple of different years on whatever fucking contract he signed, this does not seem like it's going to be the end of Goldberg. So why are they going to book him in this match if they're not going to put him over? And it's making me nervous as shit. So there should be plenty of speculation, plenty to talk about today, and plenty to get into. Let me make sure I can be heard. I'm a little pixely on my screen here. Hopefully I look okay for you guys. All right, we're looking good there. I want to say hi to everybody that was here in the chat hanging out, bust out a couple of these super chats. I want to shout out all the patrons and let you guys know 2 videos coming up. It's going to be a busy week of videos. I'm actually closed at my restaurant. We've been shut down for a couple of weeks. We're probably not going to, as of right now, we're not going to reopen until at least a week and a half or so. Just waiting to see what the county does and things like that. So I've got some free time, so I'm busting out these videos, and I got a couple of big ones to share with you this week. So stay tuned for that in just a second. I want to say hello to George Morris, who is here, the first one to pop in with a $5 super chat. Greg, how are you doing this work? How is work this week? Wait, hold on. Greg, how are you doing? How is work? This was the worst week of WWE I've ever seen. Legends Night was a big waste of time, 0 out of 10 all week. Yeah, the Legends Night was a huge bust. We talked about that on Monday. It was terrible. I am not a fan of the Goldberg confrontation at the end. The one bright spot that Raw did give us, though, was a fantastic WWE title match between McIntyre and Keith Lee. I loved every minute of that, and I thought both guys did well. But bringing all those legends there just to have them on screen for 10 seconds in a backstage segment doesn't seem like it's going to really do much to affect the ratings. I didn't even check and see what Raw rating was, actually. But it was a bust, total bust. And we kind of knew it would be. We were all kind of shitting on it before because WWE, unless it was a big coincidence, but I think we all know better, it was probably WWE's reaction to the ratings. It seemed like they announced the Legends Raw right after they got the worst rating of all time. So it was very transparent. A lot of fans were just, immediately turned off by it, and they didn't really deliver much to us anyway. So I agree with you that it was a total bust. Good to see Barry is here. Got a monkey wrench in the house along with a few others. Deshaun's in the house as well, and Sean and Zane. Glad you got the WCW trading cards in the mail. Happy to hear that. Glad they finally arrived, and sorry it took me so long to mail those. And Deshaun Robinson is back again with $5 more. Thanks, dude. Greg, you didn't tell me you were having a match against Roman at the Rumble. I know, right? What is with bald dudes and goatees getting title matches at the Royal Rumble? I think maybe I should get one at Elimination Chamber. No, I might not be able to beat Roman. I can definitely beat Drew, though. We'll see. No, not really watching any NFL, Ernie. I have really checked out mentally of football this year. I've been less and less involved. I used to be such a hardcore football fan. I'd watch every Sunday. I'd plan my fucking week around it. But YouTube changed that for me. Me being more focused on wrestling and content creating, things like that, made sports and football take a little bit of a backseat. I'm still a football fan. I still watch every year. This year, however, I kind of chose to just ignore it. I didn't really care. It's so weird watching sports in the COVID era. It's kind of like wrestling. It's just not the same. I really want it just to go back to the way it was. So when football resumes and all that, I'll be much more into it. But it was weird. Even the college. I was watching the Orange Bowl or something last week, and I think it was Clemson and Ohio State. Clemson was like 10-1, and Ohio State was 6-1. Like, these records are all jacked because COVID teams get hit with COVID and games gets canceled, and it's just a mess. And I just don't give a shit, to be honest. So it sucks. I felt the same way about basketball. I was really hoping for the Lakers to win the title and have this moment for Kobe, but they did. But with COVID, it made it all very different, and it just as a sports fan, I'm deflated. I'm just deflated. So I'm gonna kind of jump back into it when things get back to normal. But until then, I really don't give a shit who wins this year. I mean, who's good? Steelers, Chiefs. They're pretty solid, right, this year. They're probably odds-on favorites. Who else? Otherwise, I don't really care. But I wish I cared more, Ernie. But thanks for being here. Barry, what's up, dude? Thanks for $2. Bailey's interview by Stone Cold tomorrow. Thank you for that reminder, Barry, because I thought it was this past Sunday. I went looking for it last week on the network, and we couldn't find it. I'm like, I swear they advertised Bailey, and it's just because I don't pay attention. So thank you for letting us know that it's going to be tomorrow on the WWE Network. Devlin Husband's back, another monkey wrench. Thanks for the $5. Glad Nakamura turned face. Is that really what happened? I guess it is, because he had a hell of a performance last night on SmackDown. I was so happy to see that. Makes me wonder. Well, I think he recently re-signed, but I'm like, is his contract coming up or something? And WWE's all of a sudden going to start, making him a deal. I mean, what I don't understand is, how did he have this great performance last night, but then a couple of weeks ago lost clean to Otis? This company, I swear. But I am happy there. And like I said, I think that could actually turn into something, more if the tribal chief and his family are going to have a little bit more than Kevin Owens to deal with here, and if they can form a little bit of a Ring of Honor group with Adam Pearce and shit like that. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, but you would think that Pearce is going to hand over his spot to Owens or something like that. We'll see. I cannot see him going to the Royal Rumble and actually having this match. Also, thank you for the cards. You got your cards in the mail as well. Also, AEW was fantastic this week. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about that later, because that main event, I mean, what sucks about Omega and Phoenix, I don't think it was the match of the week, but it should have been. Any other week in wrestling that they ever decided to put this match on, it would not only be match of the week, probably match of the month, and maybe even match of the last 6 months. But the fact that it came in conjunction with Wrestle Kingdom, and we had a couple of really good matches on that show as well. And of course, Balor and O'Reilly was was nothing to shake a stick at either. It was a good week of wrestling, but that was about as good of a title match as you can ever see, as Omega and Phoenix on Wednesday. Watch it twice, and it was so good. Johnny Silverhand, I've been away. Comments on Sting, Greg? Well, I don't have time to get into all that, but I got a couple of podcasts ago. Just go look up my podcast when he arrived. I talked about my opinions of him possibly wrestling, managing, what he's going to do, alliances, things like that. If there's time later on, I'll discuss that more. And the Saints are pretty good too. It's fun watching Brady, and maybe not fun, but Brady's not doing that great in Tampa, and it looks like Cam Newton's already on his way out of New England. So yeah, NFL's a mess. And of course, my Lions always suck, so what do I care? Devlin's a Cowboys fan, so yeah, you kind of feel my pain, although at least Cowboys had their run, in the 90s. At least you had Troy and Emmett and shit like that. As a Lions fan, I ain't had nothing. I don't really have any alliances in football right now. I don't have a team that I overly hate at all. I mean, my Lions are in the NFC North, but I don't give it. I like the Packers. I've met Aaron Rodgers. He lives down the road from my restaurant, and I've always rooted for them. Not a huge fan of the Bears or anything, and who else is in that division? Vikings. Oh yeah, but I don't hate any of those teams. I was rooting for the Vikings when Favre was there and kicking ass. Or no, that was where the hell was he? Yeah, Minnesota. So I don't have any alliances, and I don't have any real big hatreds either. Don't really care who the fuck wins. So we'll see. We'll see how the playoffs play out. All right, bust out these last two supers, and then we'll get into the news and the menu for this week. Martin Can, appreciate the 5. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez nailed it on Wednesday night. What a fantastic match. That will be discussed here in just a minute when we get into NXT, because that was a great match this week. When you just tally up all of these great matches in the last 6 days, it's a lot. We're talking 10, like really solid, great wrestling matches all in the same week. Sometimes we don't get 10 matches of this quality within 3 months. We got them in 1 week, so it was pretty amazing. And thanks, Devlin, for another 5. Is the 4th Karate Kid worth watching before I start Cobra Kai? Let me tell you this, Devlin. As much as a Karate Kid mark that I was, Karate Kid's my favorite movie. Those movies were very, very, very important to me as a kid. By the time we got to part 3, I was a little bit disinterested. Not the best movie, although Terry Silver might be one of the best villains of all time, and is going to be making his appearance and presence known in season 4. The movie itself, there was too much time had gone by. Ralph Macchio was like 41 years old trying to play a 17-year-old. It just didn't have the same feel. I thought the finish was good. I liked the kata at the end, and the music and the scores in these movies are always great. But since Karate Kid 3 wasn't that great, I had no interest in the next Karate Kid. So I never saw it. I've seen clips. I've seen Hilary Swank kicking the shit out of a couple of guys and Miyagi beating up an old dude or something like that. But I never really saw the movie straight through. But I have a feeling that since I know Daniel was mentioned in the 4th Karate Kid, he was at least mentioned. I know it's all in the same universe, so they could bring Hilary Swank in to the Cobra Kai series at some point, and if they do, then I'll go and watch the movie. But Devlin, I'm kind of with you. I've never really seen it. Taylor, thanks for the $2. How do you think Trump will be removed? Do you think Trump will be removed from the WWE Hall of Fame? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, is it really? I mean, it's so minor in the grand scheme of things. What's going on, I'd rather have him be removed from much more. But considering who else is in the Hall of Fame and WWE, they have pulled Hogan, due to, really, really bad PR. But this is such a whole different thing. It's hard to gauge this. So yes, obviously the right thing to do is, lock this guy in a cement block, and just never let him come out. But will they remove him? I would probably say no. Him and Vince are kind of buddies, and you usually stand by your buddies, even if they're fucking stupid. So I've had friends that done a lot of stupid shit. I bailed one out of jail one time for being a complete moron, but he was still my friend. So Vince probably feels that way. He probably still definitely feels that way towards the 270-pound clear plastic bag full of orange Fanta, but what can you do? That's not something I'm even going to care about. I'm not going to get on WWE's case if they don't remove him. I don't care. Remove him, don't remove him. What the fuck ever. He's not. Life's too short to waste on him. Hogan is a goober. Hogan is kind of a goober. But yeah, so we've seen, other people be removed from the Hall of Fame before. Hogan just temporarily, but then he was kind of reinstated. But Sonny is still in there, and Snuka is still in there, and some other really fucking big scumbags. So the Hall of Fame is loaded with scumbags, so he kind of fits right in, if you ask me. So I'm going to say right now, no, but who knows what the future holds with that stuff. But anyway, let's get into what I have to tell you guys about. I want to quickly shout out our patrons, the current patrons on the channel here that really help, get the bills paid and keep this channel moving, because it's not free to do this. I really appreciate all of you. J Smooth 1999, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dogs Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, Antoine Daniels, John Redifer, Claudio Clabadetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Reese Jones, Barry MK, Josiah, Mr. Steve, John Riffle, Scott Moss, Michael Cuomo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, and Blake Moran. Thank you as always for your patronage. When it shows some of your lifetime statuses here, and how much, you've donated over the years, it's pretty incredible. So thank you to all of you very much. I appreciate that. You guys can also really, really help me out in a free way, and that is by smashing that like button. It worked pretty well last week. I'm really trying to get my likes up in 2021 because they were shit in 2020, and that stuff really helps the channel, getting featured and in the recommendations and things like that. So it might not seem like a big deal, but if you could please take your finger, click the thumbs up, I would be eternally grateful to you. Please help us out there on the channel. That would help a great deal. Also, I want to let you guys know about 2 videos coming up in the next couple of days. We are right in the middle of another 3-video day here on the channel. Today, we got the Winged Eagle podcast. Tomorrow, I'm dropping a brand new classic Royal Rumble review. I'm going to premiere this one. I haven't used the premiere feature in a while. So tomorrow morning, noon Eastern, here in the States. It's going to be 9 a.m. here on the West Coast. Devlin, if you're in Hawaii, you're going to have to wake up at 6 a.m. if you want to watch this premiere. Otherwise, you can just watch it on demand when it's done. And it's I won't even tell you which one it is. It's just a random fun one. I think one person on Twitter knows because I kind of told him. Other than that, you'll just have to wait and see until tomorrow which one I talk about. I cannot believe I spoke for an hour on this show. I didn't think I would. And I didn't think there was that much to really get into, but I have a lot of memories of it. So tune in tomorrow at noon Eastern for a classic Royal Rumble review. Should be a lot of fun. I'll have the link posted to that later on tonight. I got to finish up a couple of tidbits of editing, and that'll be up and ready and set to premiere in the morning. So you guys can check that out. Also, this coming Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we're going to do a live stream, and we're going to review a SmackDown episode from 2003. This is going to be courtesy. This is a Patreon-sponsored review from AJ Daniels, who sponsored this live stream, and we're going to review SmackDown from September 18th, 2003. That was the SmackDown with the Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle Iron Man match. He wanted a full review of that show. I cannot believe I was not there. It was in Raleigh. My buddy Daniel was there. I don't know why I didn't go to this. I mean, that was kind of getting to the tail end where before, in like 98 up until this point, I wouldn't miss a show if it was in my area. I'd automatically be there. Around this time, I didn't make them all, so I don't recall why I didn't go. I was probably broke. I don't recall why I didn't make the show, but I wasn't there. My buddy Daniel was. He had a few he's got a few interesting things to tell me about it, and I'm gonna finish watching the show, watching the match. It's a match I haven't watched in years and years and years. So we'll come up here on Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time and just talk about it. So join us on Thursday. That should be fun. And of course, Monday night I'll be up here after Raw as well. So you'll give me 3 days in a row here. Skip Tuesday and Wednesday, and back up Thursday for the SmackDown stream. And then after that, it'll be Saturday again, and we'll be here winged eagling it. So keep a lookout. So yeah, I think that's all the information I had to run by you guys. We can jump into the wrestling news now, get into that, because there's a lot to talk about with the wrestling results mostly. But in terms of wrestling news, the only thing I really want to get into is the rumors. It's just rumors, pure speculation, rumors. Probably a lot of this is Jay White working everybody, but I think it's worth at least mentioning the possibility of Jay White leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. Apparently his contract is nearly up and he might not extend it. He even liked a tweet from Finn Balor that said, like, bring it on or something like that after his victory over Kyle O'Reilly. I talked about Jay White in my Wrestle Kingdom when we talked about Wrestle Kingdom on Monday and stuff, and how I thought he was just so perfect for New Japan. I can't ever see a guy like him really jumping, because someone like him I feel would really, really be lost in the shuffle in NXT. And of course, like WWE does with everybody, they just fuck him the fuck up. So I think that unless you can get some sort of a guarantee from WWE that you're going to be brought in like AJ Styles, if I'm Jay White, I'm staying away. Unless he wants to try his hands here in the States. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's fantastic. I'm a big fan of his, and I'd love to see him here. I just don't think WWE has any earthly clue what to do with someone like him, because they don't have any earthly clue what to do with anybody. So maybe if he came over here, AEW would be a better spot for him because of the matches he could have and the rivalries and things like that. He would be featured as a main eventer, where in WWE he should be featured as a main eventer, but will he? Fuck no. So I don't know what that's all about. It seems very strange. A lot of fans are like, oh, don't go to WWE, they'll fuck you up. So I think we can all agree on that. But maybe he's just working everybody at the same time. You never really know. But I expect him to kind of stay put. But if he winds up over here, who knows what that will mean for him and his future. It could be interesting. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I think Jay White's probably best staying put where he is. He can continue to build his legacy as a really badass, real main eventer. He's still rather young. He still has time to build more of a legacy before making the jump, but he did lose a title match to Ibushi, and he's already been champion there. He's been IWGP champion. He's been Intercontinental champion. So, and US, hasn't he held them all? He might have held them all, at least 2. So maybe he feels he's done all he can do there and he's ready to come over here. I don't know, but either way, I worry for him, because anytime you see someone like that that's that stupidly good, it's like the better they are, the more likely it is that WWE will fuck him up. It's like if Okada signed or something. He'd be farting around with Kushida and Xia Li. I don't know. He'd just be doing stupid shit. So I don't know what that means for Jay White, but we'll keep an eye on it, see if he does turn up here in the States at some point in the future. We want to congratulate as well Matt and Rebby Hardy, who are welcoming their 4th child. Sounds like it's going to be a girl this time. Rebby is pregnant again, so Matt just can't get up off her, and I think that's great for them. Congratulations. I tweeted Matt, I think they're only 1 or 2 kids away from having their own TLC show on cable TV or something. So it looks like Matt and Rebby are continuing to build their massive family. Might finally be adding a Hardy girl to the mix, because I believe they got 3 boys now. So that family is growing, and I couldn't be happier for them, especially when you think about where Matt was 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever it was. He was not in a good place. He wasn't something that he wasn't somebody that I was even thinking was going to live past the next couple of years. Not only did he do that, he cleaned himself up. He's built a wonderful family here, and credit to Rebby. She's crazy. I know Rebby's got her faults too. She's said and done a couple of things on social media that's really disgusted me, especially when Ashley Mazzaro died. But despite all of that, she deserves credit, I think, for getting him on track. He listens to her. I don't know why, but without her, I don't know if Matt would really be where he is. And now they are building a really, really awesome family, and all their kids are cute as shit. So congrats to the Hardys. Very happy for you. And we should also mention that a ring announcer from WrestleMania 2 passed away. Legendary Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda died during the same day that all the crap was hitting, the shit was hitting the fan here. So that really took a back seat, which sucks because he was a legend. He was a legend in Major League Baseball, legend here in California. And he was at WrestleMania 2 doing ring announcing. I forgot was he the main event? He might have announced Bundy and Hogan. I just know he was there. He might have done actually, I think he did. Because I can envision him in the ring with the cage. Yeah, I think he announced Bundy and Hogan. So that's a shame. Rest in peace. He was late 80s or something like that. So figured it was at least worth mentioning that. And also, like I mentioned earlier on, it does look like WWE is planning another super show of some kind, this time in India. And I guess all of this is going to be just tentative onto whenever they can officially start traveling again and doing things, and the world gets back to some sort of normalcy. Could still be a ways off, but whenever that happens, it looks like they're setting up a show in India. It's going to be called the Superstar Spectacle. Why is it that every single one of these big overseas shows have the dumbest fucking names? Super Showdown, Greatest Royal Rumble, Superstar Spectacle. This is the best they can come up with. Remember back in the day, like in the Attitude Era, when they would do the UK pay-per-views, like the UK only ones, they had cool names. Insurrection, which is actually kind of appropriate for right now, and Mayhem in Manchester, and what's another one? One Night Only, and they did a couple more, and they at least tried. And this feels like they don't try, but you know exactly what this is going to be. I'm not going to watch it. I don't give a shit. It's going to be like the Super Showdown in Australia that they did. Yeah, they gave Buddy Murphy the moment there, but everything else was just a glorified house show with fucking lights and pyro. That's all this is going to be. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Superstar Spectacle. If they're not going to put forth any effort whatsoever in the name of this thing, I'm not going to put forth any effort to watch it. So they can go fuck themselves. But anyway, that is pretty much it for the news there. Like I said, we're going to get into SmackDown first and talk about that. First of all, I want to see if there's any supers that I missed. Oh, okay, just one. I'm not behind. Stone Cold, did you hear a rumor that Vince wants fans at Mania? I don't think that's a rumor. I think Vince has always wanted fans at Mania. If Vince could have had fans last year, he would have. So this year might be a little bit different. Still don't know what it's going to be looking at. There's no official announcement, but obviously it's clearly not going to be here in LA, which is a bummer. I really wanted to go. And it's going to be back in Tampa, most likely, and they're going to do it there, which is good for those fans because they missed it last year. But we've talked about this several times in the last few weeks. I don't know if it's going to be a combination of having a few fans there combined with virtual fans. If there was a way to do it, to do both of them. WWE loves those big, wide crowd shots. So if they have social distancing fans there, like you're seeing at NFL right now, or you're seeing on AEW, that's not going to look very good on camera. So, and it's not going to provide, the noise either that they're hoping to get, but it will provide some noise. So I'm almost wondering if they're going to do a combination. It just depends on what they're allowed to do. And in Florida, I think you're pretty much allowed to do anything. So we'll see if they really pack the stadium out or not. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but Vince wanting fans, there's no question about that. Of course he does. I want fans. We all want fans. Just whether or not it's safe and responsible enough to do that or not. And WWE, if they want to, they're in the right state, basically, if they want to do things maybe quicker or sooner than some other states or other places in the country or world are doing. Florida is like the no rules place. It's like, just do whatever we want. We don't give a shit. So we'll see. We'll see how WrestleMania looks. It's so up in the air. I just wish it wasn't so up in the air like that. I wish we kind of knew what we were going to get. We know the Rumble's going to be at Tropicana Field, of course, where the Thunderdome is. And like I've said with that, my only big hope is that they reconfigure the Thunderdome to make the Royal Rumble like other Royal Rumbles in recent years, where they use the dugout for the entrance. I'm really hoping they do that. That'll feel pretty cool and be pretty awesome. But in terms of Mania, I think there's a lot still up in the air at this point with WrestleMania. Good to see you in here, Gold Standard. Wow, really? They forming a stable? Who? Maybe you were talking about what I was talking about earlier on. Yeah, Stone Cold. Yeah, a combination of both is not a bad idea. It's just a matter of like how they set that up. You know, how would you do that? Would you have fans? Would you have like fan, and then some virtuals, and then more fans, or you mix them in or whatever, and then what kind of fans are you going to have there? Are they going to fuck the screens up or whatever? Are they going to take a shit in the controls of the screen? You know, who knows? These fans are crazy. So we'll see how they work that out and how they configure it to where it can look visually pleasing to the eye and still give WWE that WrestleMania feel that they're looking for. And, you know, who knows? They might move it indoors. Well, shit, by then Tropicana Field is going to be used. I don't know where they're going to go after Tropicana Field, because baseball's going to be starting here soon, 2 months, I guess, provided nothing is, you know, COVID doesn't halt that. But if baseball starts on time and spring training kicks off in February and the games begin March or April, they're going to have to be out of there by the time Mania rolls around. So where are they going to go after that? I'm sure they'll find somewhere. So that's another question we have to wonder about. And even AEW. AEW is actually switching venues as well, right? I think they were in Daily's place this past week, but I think there is 2 weeks coming up here soon that they are going to switch venues also for some reason. So anyway, I don't know. It's kind of uncomfortable not knowing, like really having no idea what we're going to see in the next couple of months in terms of, you know, WWE's show production and things like that. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. It's good to see you, Scott Moss. Welcome back, and thanks for the $5. Hey, good Mike Work Fantasy Tag Team Elimination Match. Who would win? Freebirds versus New Day versus Demolition. Freebirds, New Day, Demolition. Freebirds, New Day, Demolition. Well, son of a bitch. I'm ruling out the Freebirds. I'm going New Day or Demolition on that. Let's go New Day. Demolition's my second favorite tag team of all time in WWE, behind the Hart Foundation. However, as a trio only, they were short-lived and not very successful. Axe and Smash crushed it. Axe, Smash, and Crush, not so much. They did not have the same run that Freebirds or New Day did, for that matter. So we might have to actually keep the Freebirds in, X out Demolition first, and then go New Day and Freebirds. And I really liked Terry Gordy, but the Freebirds faction itself and Michael Hayes, I just never really been a huge fan. I really don't like that Rebel flag. I just don't like to see it. Don't want it anywhere near me. So for that alone, I'm going New Day on that. And yeah, New Day, just based on their run. They've been together, or they were together for so long, multiple tag team runs. Their matches were always super high quality. So they get my nod. New Day all the way. All right, let's get into last night's SmackDown, because that's, you know, kind of what we've seen lately, or this is what the last thing we've seen in terms of wrestling was last night's SmackDown. And they dropped a pretty interesting angle going into the Royal Rumble concerning Roman Reigns and his WWE title. Now, what was weird is earlier on in the day, prior to SmackDown, they had announced that the main event will be a gauntlet match, like a 5-person gauntlet match. The winner gets a shot at Roman Reigns' title at the Royal Rumble. But Daniel Bryan had already been on TV declaring himself for the Royal Rumble. So this is just yet another example that you can add to the list of how WWE just doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. They just write this shit. They change their mind. I don't understand how WWE can be such a big company like this, and they think it's okay to write your show the same fucking morning or during lunch or 1 hour before you're airing. Or some people, like you heard in WCW, don't know what they're doing yet, and the show is already on the air. That is completely unacceptable. How these morons think this is okay, and how you can really run a wrestling company in a proper way and book properly when you're running and flying by the seat of your pants like this, I have no idea. So that automatically kind of contradicted what they were going to do. I don't remember shit. Who are the participants in the gauntlet? It was Daniel Bryan, Baron Corbin, Ray, Shinsuke Nakamura, somebody else. You got it written down. Who else was in that? Oh, Sami Zayn. That's right. And as we would see, old Scrappy would be added at the last minute. So it was Ray versus Sami versus Shinsuke versus Bryan versus Corbin. That was the advertised match. The winner getting the shot against Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. Interesting that they left Kevin Owens out of this, which is why I guess they did the angle last week which I said last week on the podcast. I'm like, I hope Kevin Owens takes a week or so off because you still got a fair amount of time before you get to the Royal Rumble. That's a lot of weeks of build. And if you're going to give Kevin Owens another match against Roman Reigns, I think you got to take a break here because they've been feuding now already for like close to 2 months. And now you're going to add another month onto this. It would be a lot. So to take a break in between there is a good idea. I was assuming that's what they did this week, and they would add Kevin Owens later on. Kevin Owens, you would still think, even based on what we saw last night, is going to have a match with Roman again, right? So the Royal Rumble seemed like a logical place for that, and we all speculated that it might be a last man standing match. I laid out a whole scenario last week where you could do a stipulation to where if Jey Uso interferes in the match, then Roman Reigns loses the title, because the only reason Owens isn't the champion is because of Jey Uso. You make a stipulation like that, and then in the match you have Jey Uso run in and interfere. Referee calls for the bell, awards Kevin Owens the title. He celebrates, his music plays. Jey Uso takes off his hat to reveal it's really Jimmy, which means the stipulation was not compromised. Match restarts. Roman spears Owens and retains the title. Mega heat and just more sympathy for Owens. I would love a scenario like that. But now that they're putting this gauntlet match together, for the moment, it looks like Kevin Owens is out of this scenario. But they open up the show with a Roman promo with Paul Heyman, and Adam Pearce is there. And of course, they've already announced that gauntlet match. So Roman kind of starts fucking with Adam Pearce a little bit, kind of intimidating him, talking in that slow, monotone way that only a beautifully exquisite heel like Roman Reigns can do. And he threatens him a little bit, even says, you calling me stupid, and kind of puts his hands on Pearce, and Pearce, really backs down. So they had that whole confrontation to open up the show. A little bit later on, Paul Heyman approaches Adam Pearce backstage and tells him that he's going to be added to that gauntlet match at the end of the night, which was really strange. So you could kind of see what they were doing there with Adam Pearce. I'm like, they wouldn't put him in this unless they want him to win it. And a couple of people called that out on Twitter. They're like, this is probably Roman's punishment to Adam Pearce. He's going to help him win just so he can get a chance to just beat the ever-loving fuck out of him at the Royal Rumble. And that's kind of what we would see there. So the fact that they started putting all that together was pretty interesting there in the opening promo, and it was one of the few opening promos in modern times that actually made me interested to stick around and see what was going to happen in the main event. But, of course, that wouldn't all happen. The Pearce announcement wouldn't happen until later on in the show when Paul Heyman approached him backstage. But still, setting all that up was pretty interesting there. We had an Intercontinental title match, 2 title matches on the show, by the way, and that was Big E defending against Apollo Crews. Apollo jumped at the chance to challenge Big E last week when Big E said he was going to issue an open challenge. And the match only goes for a little while here, and they actually do kind of a double pin scenario. I had Jeff Jarrett and Bob Holly flashbacks from 1995, I think, when Bob Holly won the title for an hour. And Big E, I think it's Big E delivers it to Crews, and then they kind of both roll each other up, small package style. All 4 shoulders are on the mat. Referee counts 1, 2, 3. Apollo thinks he won. Big E thinks he retained. They actually go to commercial while they sort it out. So you're wondering, I'm like, did they just do a fucking title change? Did they just take the belt off of Big E already and give it to Apollo? That seems weird. But it seemed likely what was going to happen is we were going to get a match restart when we got back from commercial. That's exactly what happened. We come back because of the double pin. The referee says the match is a draw, and Apollo gets in Big E's face and says, you don't want to win it like that. Big E's like, I don't make the rules, bitch. And so they kind of jaw jack with each other a little bit. Apollo, to his credit, does not back down, actually slaps Big E right across the face, and that was a good way to motivate Big E to saying, okay, yeah, fuck yeah, restart this match, which they do. So Apollo Crews convinces Big E to restart, and then Big E winds up winning clean with the big ending to retain the title. So that's good, but it was also a kind of a good outing for Apollo Crews that they actually did that with him. The double pin surprised me with Big E recently winning the title. I just think every match he has, for the next several weeks should just be flat-out victories. So they threw a little twist at us. Maybe it's to extend the show, or maybe it's to actually give Apollo Crews a little bit more of a rub. I've liked what I've seen from Crews the couple of times he's gotten mad. I talked about this a year ago. I don't even remember who it was now. It was when he was feuding with not even a year ago. It was back when he was feuding with everybody on Monday Night Raw. Maybe it was Andrade or something. And it was a backstage segment on Raw, and he just reared back and slapped the piss out of somebody. You want to get in my face? And it was really convincing. I don't even remember who he slapped now. I think it might have been Andrade or Angel Garza or somebody like that. And slapped him right in the face. I'm like, ooh, I like that look from Apollo. I don't like the very big, happy, smiley Apollo Crews. I thought that was part of what was wrong with Bobby Lashley for a while there, that he was just too big and menacing to be that goddamn happy. And when he does get mad, he looks pretty damn convincing. And since Apollo Crews is a good-looking guy, just like Lashley is, they kind of remind me of each other like that. I'm like, they're way too smiley and bright-eyed. They need to show that they can basically break your neck if they wanted to. And I like that side of him. I liked Apollo Crews when he gets like that, and I was impressed with how he handled Big E here. But in the end, Big E retained as he should. And as far as Big E's title run goes and how long it lasts and where it ends, I have no idea. I'm nervous as hell for how WWE is going to handle this. I am 100% convinced they're going to handle it wrong. So we'll see how long Big E's stuff lasts. I don't know who his next immediate challenger, opponent, or program is going to be for that title. Can't really tell right now, or at least I wasn't paying attention to it. But whatever it is, if he's going to be the IC champ and he's not going to be the world champ right now, just like Lashley, he's the US champ right now. I'm going to keep these belts on these guys for a while. Is it really that hard to keep your belts on tag team champions for more than 3 weeks, or US champions or intercontinental champions or whatever? So I hope Big E has a healthy run. Doesn't have to go a year or anything, but give him a healthy run. Don't give him the Damien Priest run with the North American title that lasted, 4.5 minutes. Give him a run, like an actual fucking run. So best of luck to Big E and his Intercontinental title aspirations and future challengers. Adam Pearce was backstage with Sonya Deville. Of course, Sonya Deville showed up last week with no explanation. They just showed her walking through the corridor as all the wrestlers were looking at her. They didn't really say what she was going to do. Apparently, she's going to have some sort of a backstage position here because she's talking with Adam Pearce. He welcomes her back. She says, it's good to be here. I just want an opportunity, get my foot in the door, whatever she says. And he's kind of like, I could use some help. And if you want the job, kind of it's yours. So we really don't still know what her role is going to be. Whatever it is, this is the stepping stone for her getting back in the ring, obviously. But for some reason, they're going to put her in a backstage position, which is odd, but doesn't necessarily not fit her. I like the way she wears the suits. I just think she's cool. I like Sonya Deville a lot. So she'd probably fit just fine into this role for the time being, but it's super crazy temporary. There's no way this is going to last at all. She even kind of threw a little bit of shade at Mandy Rose for, beating her and the loser leaves town and now getting a new tag team partner, and she was in a dark place. It's been a rough year, all this stuff. So this will lead to some sort of confrontation. Somebody will get in her face. She'll slap the shit out of him. And before you know it, Sonya will be back in the ring. I just hope that she's a player when she does get back in the ring, because the women's division, I think, needs her. And I think when she is on her game, she's one of the best. And we'll see where this goes. But you can't think that any sort of backstage authority role or assistant role or secretary role or executive assistant, whatever you want to call her, to Adam Pearce, how long can that really last, So we'll see her in the ring before long. We had a Bianca Belair promo where Bayley interrupted and absolutely nothing happened there. Then we had the tag team title match with the Street Profits defending against Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. This was a match I wasn't really that paying attention to. I completely ignored whatever they did last week. The segment with the drums and Roode and Ziggler attacking him or whatever. It's just not a program I'm into. I like the Street Profits a lot. I've said that before. I like Montez. I think he's just stupidly athletic. But they're still not one of my favorite teams. And some of their shit is just kind of like, whatever. They're having fun and all that, and that can be fun sometimes, but their segments and everything tend to be hit or miss, and I didn't have any interest in whatever the fuck they did last week. So that led to the title match here, and Roode and Ziggler beat them and won the SmackDown tag team titles. So they're, I guess, 2-time champs now. They were Raw tag team champions, right? So now they're SmackDown tag team champs. Okay. It's kind of sad that tag team title changes, most of this is due in part to WWE having too many tag team championship belts, but it's sad that, like, when I was a kid, a tag team title change would be a industry-changing thing. It would be front page of the next magazine. It would be a memory that would be permanently imprinted onto my brain. I'll never forget watching the Bulldogs win the titles. I'll never forget watching the Bulldogs lose the titles. Same with the Hearts. Same with all those teams back then. Demolition, as I talked about actually in my top 10 top 10 tag teams video that I did just a week or so ago. And I talked a lot about those tag team matches and those title changes and how much of a mark they left on my memory. And you fast forward here now 35 years later, and I forgot about this by lunchtime today. Forgot there was even a tag team title change until I was reviewing my notes today. And that's just a sad state of affairs there, that's what the tag team titles have been reduced to. Nothing against either team. I like all four of these guys. I like Ziggler, despite the shit he gets from the wrestling community. I like Ziggler. I like Bobby Roode. And I like Montez, and I like Dawkins. But what WWE, what they've made of these championships, I think is just a crime, and they're not important anymore. And this match, it was a tag team title change, and I literally couldn't have cared less. Didn't even like widen my eyes. I watched SmackDown last night. I didn't even go like, huh, wow, look at that. I like literally like, huh, new champs. It's just, I don't know, just sad. Thought I'd share that. After that was when we got Paul Heyman approaching Adam Pearce backstage and said that he pulled some strings to get Adam Pearce into the Gauntlet match. So Roman and Heyman are fucking with this guy. And I don't even know, like, I've never known what his deal was, why he got out of the ring to begin with. I know he's brought in as WWE's an agent and maybe a trainer and things like that, but did he retire due to any sort of an injury, or can he wrestle? Because since he's been there, I've always wondered if we're going to see Adam Pearce in the ring. I thought at some point he would get in the ring. I thought he was the one behind Retribution. I thought he was going to be at least a member of it because he was the one kind of trying to stop them from getting in the building, but they always got in the building. So I was like, okay, he's probably a mole or a spy. He's letting them in and pulling some strings to kind of get them in secretively or whatever. That never came to be. And now they've got Roman and Heyman messing with him a little bit. And now they're putting him in the Gauntlet match, which was going to be the main event. So he had to wrestle in this thing, and it was going to be maybe our first look at Adam Pearce in a WWE ring, which was pretty cool. So the Gauntlet match starts off with Rey Mysterio and Sami Zayn. Rey beats Sami in like a matter of seconds. It's just that it starts really quickly. Rey beats him that fast. Sami's pissed, and of course he's going apeshit about that. I love Sami Zayn. That brings out Shinsuke Nakamura next. We got Rey Mysterio and Shinsuke Nakamura in the ring. That's a cool match, just on paper and visually is cool right off the bat. And Nakamura wins. You kind of just thought that WWE's forgotten about this guy. He dropped a clean match to Otis a couple of weeks ago. And here he has a really good little match here with Rey Mysterio and taps him out after getting a knees. Rey goes for his top rope splash, and Nakamura gets the knees up and then catches Rey in submission and gets him to tap out. So he advances. That was a little surprising on its own. But then that brings out Baron Corbin. It's Baron Corbin and Nakamura now. And Nakamura then beats Baron Corbin. Sweet. I was worried that Baron Corbin would last a little bit. I didn't think he'd get the match against Roman Reigns or anything, but I thought Corbin would have a little bit more of an influence or impact on this match, and he didn't at all. Nakamura disposed of him, which then brings out Daniel Bryan. So Daniel Bryan's another guy that's been on a lot of people's radar. Could he be looking at another title shot this year, whether it be at the Royal Rumble, getting involved in the title situation with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, or potentially winning the Royal Rumble, since he did declare his entrance into the Rumble? He's now on the short list of, maybe he's a guy that could win it and go and get another title shot at WrestleMania. That would be awesome. Maybe one more title win for Daniel Bryan before it's all over for him. I don't know. But I'm watching this assuming that Daniel Bryan is just going to beat Nakamura in advance, but Nakamura then beats Daniel Bryan. Did he hit the Kinshasa on him? I don't remember how he put him down, but Nakamura beat him. You even get the handshake at the end. Kind of like an official maybe face turn for Nakamura, which is very cool. And just a really, really great performance by Nakamura in all three of these matches. He beat Rey Mysterio, Baron Corbin, and Daniel Bryan. All fresh and all clean. Technically, you can consider Rey Mysterio fresh since it took him, a half a second to beat Sami Zayn in the opener there. So technically, Nakamura defeating three major stars like that is pretty awesome, but also made me wonder why the fuck he lost to Otis a couple of weeks ago. What the hell is going on here? So what is going on with WWE's booking? I want to be happy about Nakamura, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous here. So Nakamura advances. Had Heyman not pulled those strings, he'd be going to the Royal Rumble to face Roman Reigns now. But instead, we've got our final entrant, and that is Adam Pearce. He comes out, and Heyman and Roman are kind of like with him a little bit, like they're on the ramp with him, bringing out Pearce. And then they get in the ring, and Jey Uso, who's also out there, him and Roman attack Shinsuke Nakamura, beat the crap out of him before the bell rings, and basically serve up Nakamura for Adam Pearce. I think they even beat up Adam Pearce or something, right? And then they kind of throw him on top of Nakamura, and the referee counts the 1, 2, 3, and Roman stands over both of them holding up the title. And that now, by the rules, means that Adam Pearce is going to go face Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And that was kind of Roman Reigns' way of, getting back at Adam Pearce or teaching him a lesson or whatever, or giving himself a really, really easy opponent to face at the Royal Rumble. Pretty shitty thing for a heel like Roman to do, which is cool. So, if anything, that was really interesting. We had so many stories coming into play here. Number one, the performance of Shinsuke Nakamura and what that might mean for his future, because you don't just do this with him and then he goes back to losing to Otis next week. This looks like maybe they're going to give a shit about him, at least for a couple of weeks here. So that's good. And you also had Cesaro tweeting out something after the show saying, don't mess with my friends or whatever. So he's a little bit annoyed by this. You had Daniel Bryan has been a little bit involved with the Roman Reigns storyline as well, because he's had a couple of matches and issues and run-ins with Jey Uso. And now you got Kevin Owens on the shelf, who has had his issue with Roman Reigns as well. And now if you get Cesaro in the mix to come in there and try to avenge Nakamura, you got a little trio of Ring of Honor guys here. If you got Kevin Owens, or you got 4 of them, Adam Pearce, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, if they all kind of band together and you add Shinsuke into that mix as well, to go up against Roman and Uso and potentially Jimmy. We got to see Jimmy back at some point, right? So maybe they're going to kind of band together here or something. That might be a little bit fun. Or maybe they are just going to temporarily band together to try to help out Kevin Owens. I don't know what WWE is saying in storyline as it relates to Kevin Owens and his health. You know, I'm sure he was taken to a medical facility after he took the table bump and he's convalescing at home or whatever the fuck. But I would assume he's going to be back. So between now at the Royal Rumble, what happens? Does Adam Pearce gift his spot to Kevin Owens? Is he allowed to do that? Probably not. If Heyman went through the trouble of putting him in the match and hatching this plan, you would think he would cover his bases here and make sure that if we give Pearce this victory and we create this for him, that he can't just go and give it to somebody else. But you got to think something like that's going to happen. Roman Reigns and Adam Pearce, I'd be very surprised if that was the actual match at the Royal Rumble. Something is going to happen in the next couple of weeks where they are going to insert Kevin Owens, or this thing becomes a triple threat or something. Or maybe Pearce does start getting back in the ring from time to time. I don't know, but I just think that it does open up the door for a fair amount of possibilities here based on the players that are involved in this. And I really like that Cesaro and Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura are actually maybe going to be treated like 2 wrestlers that actually matter and not invisible jobbers. That's going to be nice for a change. And Adam Pearce, 5-time NWA champion, taking on a 5-time Universal champion. That's not bad. A lot of people have wanted to see Scrap Iron in the WWE and actually wrestle there. So I don't know if we'll start seeing him in more matches, if he'll wrestle occasionally, if he'll switch to wrestling full time, or if he'll just keep his spot and they're just using him for the time being in this angle. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to lead. But either way, WWE has a potential here for it to lead somewhere pretty cool. But will it? This is WWE we're talking about. I wouldn't count your chickens if I were you. So that was pretty much it for SmackDown. It was very much heavy with that gauntlet match because that was going to take up a lot of time, and it didn't leave us much time for anything else. But we did have 2 title matches on the show with an Intercontinental title and a tag team title. We saw a tag team title change, and the main event was very good. Amazing performance by Shinsuke Nakamura, capped off with a very interesting angle with Adam Pearce winning and getting the title shot against Roman Reigns at the Rumble. So SmackDown certainly wasn't an uneventful show, and it certainly wasn't a boring show, but not one of the greatest shows either. So just want to talk about that since it did set up some interesting matches. So those are 2 very interesting matches for Roman and Drew, which also makes me think if there's more to that than meets the eye. You got Drew and Goldberg, Roman versus Adam Pearce. Who had that shit on their Royal Rumble bingo card? Not me. You asked me 3 weeks ago, both these guys are facing different people. McIntyre's probably facing Lee or Sheamus or something like that, or it's going to be a triple threat, and Roman's going to be facing Owens. And that could still happen. I like the idea of Owens getting involved here. I guess on SmackDown in the next couple of weeks, they'll probably put Owens in a match with a stipulation. Oh, if he wins, then he takes Adam Pearce's place. Something like that. It would be fun if WWE could be a bit more creative with that, getting Owens into that match, but I have a feeling it'll be some sort of a deal like that. It'll be another gauntlet match, or it'll be Owens versus Jey Uso again, and if he wins, he's something like that, Or Owens, they wouldn't do Owens and Roman again. On TV. Maybe it's Owens and Roman, and then if Owens beats him, he gets a shot, he takes Adam Pearce's place. I don't want to see that, but they'll do something similar to get Owens into the match, right? Unless there's something I'm missing here and Owens is going to be in the Royal Rumble instead. That could happen. WWE changed gears with Jey Uso when they saw how well he performed in his early matches with Roman Reigns. So maybe Owens impressed management and they said, okay, let's change gears, give Roman a different opponent at the Royal Rumble, put Owens in the Royal Rumble, let him win it, get the rematch at WrestleMania, potentially win the title. They're probably not going to do that, but they could. So you guys let me know. We're going to get into AEW next, New Year's is it New Year's Bash or New Year's Smash? I think it's New Year's Smash. New Year's Smash Night 1. We'll be getting into that next here in just a second. We'll talk about the NXT and Dynamite ratings as well. But let me just go over here and knock out a couple of more super chats. Gold Standard, welcome back, man, and thanks for the $5, dude. Appreciate it. As awesome as it is to have all these great females in NXT and main roster, do you feel bad that not all of them can get pushed? Second tier title for them one day? I'd rather have a second tier title than 2 world titles. I think that's where the problem is. The fact that there's 2 world champions for the women. I think there should just be one. And then maybe a second tier title would actually be better. I don't think the women's roster has too much talent. I think the men's roster does, but the women's roster, if you add up all 3 brands, really should be able to book these women in great storylines. There's a lot of great talent there. And if WWE just tried, it could be done. And I just don't think they do. And I think a lot of people now, wrestling fans, you hear this all the time. In their mind, everybody has to be world champion. And it's really hard for them to understand that not all of them can be. So anytime somebody doesn't win the title, then that's when the word burial comes along and stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's 2 titles and everything, but you still can't, not everybody, it's not a participation trophy. Not everybody gets it. There's going to be plenty of talent, and there was plenty of talent. Trust me, as a kid growing up in the 80s and the 90s, watching wrestling for so long, how many guys should have won the world title but didn't? Now there's even more of them. And I think when the fans start liking somebody, they just automatically think they need to win the Royal Rumble and win the title at WrestleMania. And it just can't be that way for everybody. So when it comes to the women, 2 titles sucks, but it's a little bit better for wrestlers like Charlotte and stuff, because when she wins the title, fans get all pissed. At least when Charlotte's champion, there's another champion out there to watch if you don't like her or whatever, or if you think WWE pushes her too much or whatever your fucking idiotic opinions on her are. It's easier when there's 2 titles, but I just think just a little bit of creativity and just a little bit of planning and a little bit of an idea of where you want to go in the future, and just book wrestling a little bit like you used to, with some sort of an idea of where you want to go in the future. And I think all booking suffers when WWE writes the shows every week. So I don't think, since that's all split up, since you got NXT, Raw, and SmackDown splitting up these ladies, I think each individual show has got enough women to support what they have, but they don't have a lot of contenders. It's not until you put them all together that you see all these contenders. Holy shit, Raquel and Rhea Ripley and Charlotte and Asuka and Becky and Sasha and Bayley and Bianca and all these gals are great, but when they're spread out, the women's rosters look weak. Asuka doesn't have any challengers on Raw. Even Shayna Baszler is kind of just fizzled away. Asuka has got nobody on Raw. Now that Charlotte's there, clearly they're going to be button heads at some point. But up until Charlotte's return, Asuka didn't even have a fucking challenger for that belt. So I think some call-ups are going to happen based on what we saw here on NXT that I'll talk about in a little bit. I think Rhea's probably on her way up, but I'd like to see an Intercontinental title. I would love to see because I'm just a mark for that belt, but I would love to see a women's Intercontinental title, the old design, not the Big E design, but the right one, and make that a little, actually the NWA title. Isn't the NWA title kind of a version of the Intercontinental title, the NWA women's title that Thunder Rosa carries? Kind of looks like a little bit. Make something like that. Make it that your secondary title, the women's Intercontinental title. I think would be cool. And have a tournament in Rio de Janeiro. Name it after Pat Patterson. The Pat Patterson Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament. Right? Why not? Something like that. And then drop one of your world titles, but they'll never do that. They'll never do that. Jordan Smith, appreciate the 5 as well. How many times did the wrong person win the Rumble match, in your opinion? Lifelong Buffalo Bills fan. Excited we survived today's wild card game. Oh, good for them. I work with a guy, one of my good friends, he's a big Buffalo Bills fan. He's from up there. And he's had some heartache. Buffalo, man. That is a cold place to live. Jesus. But I'm glad they won. All right, so they're going to be moving on and advancing. I don't even know who they played, but that's good to see them good again. When I was a kid, they were great. Or not a kid, when I was young, they were great. They went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, and Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith and all those guys. I'm happy for you, man. And how many times did the wrong person win the Rumble match, in your opinion? The last 10 or 15 years are all a blur. I didn't give a shit about Alberto Del Rio winning or Sheamus winning. I really didn't like the Triple H winning, although it was kind of funny. Early days, I would have had the Warrior win in 90. He went head-to-head with Hogan in that match. That was what set up WrestleMania 6, but Hogan wound up winning. I think it would have been even more momentum if Warrior won and then went into WrestleMania to beat Hogan. Maybe that one. 94. Lex should not have tied Bret Hart. Lex should have got tossed out 15 minutes into the match, and Bret Hart should have won that one. Vince winning in 99 was good because of what it set up the next month and everything. But again, Vince, Jesus. So maybe some of those, in my opinion. But there's probably a ton in recent memory, you know, like 2014, Batista. That's probably number one on the list, actually. So you can probably find more examples more recently, but I can't remember those off the top of my head. Thank you, Neil. Yeah, Cobra Kai season 3 is dope. We talked about that last week. Good to see Kumiko back and a reformed babyface chosen. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see babyface chosen. I like that, you know, in the 3 seasons, like Miguel was a babyface, then he was a heel, now he's a babyface. Robbie was a heel, then a babyface, now he's a heel. They keep turning on each other. The final episode ended with a triple threat match and a handicap match. Good stuff in Cobra Kai. All sorts of wrestling references. Chris Jericho, Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs, John Cena. All sorts of wrestling references in the show. It is great, great, great. Oh, I almost lost it. There we are. Barry, thanks for 5 more, dude. Bayley won Female Wrestler of the Year in Inside the Ropes magazine. Good for Bayley. I'd agree with that. Wrestler of the Year. She had a hell of a run, man. Bayley was awesome this year. And Joshua Aparicio, thanks for the 5 as well. Sorry I haven't been here in a while. You better be sorry. Been busy with work. This is my first stream of the first year. Hope you are having an awesome day. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. Glad you were able to be here, and glad you're back. Sorry you've been getting your ass kicked at work lately. I envy you because I'm not working at all. This is my job right now for the next couple of weeks. So that's why you're getting a lot of videos in January. All right, that catches up the Super Chats. Let's roll into Dynamite because I just want to talk a little bit about that. We're not going to spend 5 minutes on every match here. We'll blow through it, but we'll really concentrate hard on the main event because that was pretty cool. And Snoop doing a fucking frog splash or whatever the hell he did off the top rope was just ridiculous. Like I said earlier, both shows this week took a huge hit. Not surprisingly, in the ratings, AEW Dynamite drew 662,000 and NXT drew 641, I think. Yeah, 641. So very close, pretty much a tie there, but both shows way down, especially AEW, who drew close to 1 million, I think, for the Brody show. They went way down, but a lot of eyeballs, like I said, were on every other channel. I mean, every other channel was covering the news. Every other TV show, if you watch network TV, was canceled or preempted for the news coverage and all of that. So it was a very distracting day. I never turned the TV on once that day. I was pretty much just on the internet. I was on Twitter and things like that, just, you know, being horribly disgusted with, you know, what the hell was going on. So that really affected 2 really good wrestling shows because, like I said, the cards were looking good. We had 2 title matches that I was really looking forward to 24 hours prior. I'm like, this is going to be great. Tomorrow night, O'Reilly and Balor, and we've got Phoenix and Omega. Both titles on the line. It's going to be fun, but it was tough to concentrate on that night, on these shows that night. But that's not going to stop me from appreciating them because they were really, really good. Now, we had the first match on Dynamite. Really fun, 8-man. It was the Bucks and SCU defeating the Hybrid 2 and Acclaimed. Now, SCU has been claiming that the next time they lose, they're kind of doing like the Ric Flair thing, I think. The next time they lose, they're going to break up. They're going to be officially done as a tag team, Daniels and Kazarian, which makes me wonder why. I guess, like, or why they're doing this. Not that SCU hasn't run its course or anything. I'm sure they pretty much have. Excuse me. Scorpio's even kind of, you know, wrestling more in a singles environment as well. So breaking them up is not that surprising, but I'm wondering internally why. Christopher Daniels is 50 years old. Wondering if maybe he's going to start taking a lesser role, maybe a managerial role, maybe a backstage agent role or something like that. He can still work. Dude can still work, do fucking moonsaults and all that shit. So there's no reason for really him to get out of the ring unless he just wants to. So we'll see where that winds up leading. But after the Bucks and SCU, obviously they did defeat the Hybrid 2 and the Acclaimed. And after the match, that's when SCU made this announcement, and then they also said they're inevitably going to be facing the Young Bucks for the titles. So that'll probably be maybe their final match together, is they'll get a title shot and they'll lose there and split up, and then maybe we get a heel turn out of one of them, or one of them goes in a new direction, or they try to do something with Kaz again, or maybe Daniels takes a back seat, or, you know, just takes a different role of some kind. I don't know. If you guys know anything about that situation, feel free to let me know. We had Jon Moxley cutting a promo. This was his first live appearance, I think, on Dynamite since he lost the title. He did do the Brody tribute, but he hasn't been in the ring since he dropped the title to Omega. And basically goes on to say that he's still going to be coming for Omega, but just not right now. Out of respect to Phoenix, he's not going to whip his ass tonight, but you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled, look over your shoulder because I'm going to be lurking and I'm like the boogeyman. And he says that Kenny will pay, just not immediately. But also, you got to remember, Jon Moxley is the United States champion in New Japan. And that match is going to happen. He's going to go over there and defend that belt against Kenta at some point and probably drop it. So he's still got that, and that is a really nice tie into what we're going to see later on in the main event. So he's letting Omega know that he's not done with him, but he's, you don't have to worry immediately. So that was kind of interesting. We had a backstage segment with Chuck Taylor challenging Miro, who's wearing some fantastic pajamas this week, and the backstage segment where Chuck Taylor challenges him. So we're going to get Chucky and Miro next week one-on-one. Miro is going to kill him. This was fun. Holy shit. We just got a good old hoss fight here. Wardlow taking on Jake Hager. These guys beat the piss out of each other, and it was really good. I'm a big Wardlow fan. We don't see him wrestle much on AEW. And I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, man, this guy is so stupidly good looking, and he's such a great physical specimen. It almost makes me depressed of how few of us there are. But I look at him, and I'm like, wow, how did this guy slip through WWE's fingers? He just looks too good. He looks like Roman Reigns. He's just a guy that I think Vince and WWE would like to take and mold and make into a superstar. He must suck in the ring. That was my assumption when we were just seeing him backing up MJF and we hadn't seen him in the ring yet. He must be awful because nobody that looks like him. It's like, why is Jade Cargill? What the hell? WWE look at Jade Cargill and say no thanks? Like, what the fuck? So Wardlow was like the same deal. I'm like, this guy just looks too damn good to be passed up by WWE. How did they not find him first or whatever? So I just assumed he was going to be all look and no substance, and he would suck in the ring. And he had that match with Cody Rhodes, and he kicked ass. I sent him a DM after that match. I'm like, fantastic, bro. Excellent match. I just really like him. Like, I was just immediately on board and sold on him. So here, this was almost an upset, but I think a really big win and an important win for Wardlow. He beat Jake Hager. Good match and a big win. And he beat him with the F10. They pounded the hell out of each other for a while. A lot of slams, too, near the end. A lot of suplexes and shit like that. But the match was still really good. And the fact that Wardlow put him down and beat him, and they even did a little fist bump at the end, a little show of respect because they are both Inner Circle members. I liked everything about this match. And I was really happy for Wardlow to get a pretty big victory. This is a big victory for him. It's not like he wrestles a lot. So I was happy to see that. Backstage later on, Jake Hager is pissed off about the loss, and he's approached by MJF, who actually calms him down. He's like the Inner Circle whisperer or something like that. It's like the second time that he's actually cooled people's jets a little bit and really played the role of peacemaker or peacekeeper in the Inner Circle, which makes me think that that's going to lead to something, because that is not who MJF's character is. He doesn't give a fuck about making peace with anybody. So this is obviously just a ploy by him. And like I said, I guess they're just dragging this out. But as soon as MJF was rumored to be a part of the Inner Circle, the Le Dinner Debonair and everything that they did with Jericho and MJF, I'm like, this is going to lead to Jericho getting turned on or something. And I still feel like that's going to happen. So MJF is being the peacekeeper now, but that's fishy as fuck. And something's going on there. So I still think the Inner Circle turning on Jericho is going to happen. I just feel like it's going to. So we'll see how long it takes for that to be accomplished. We go backstage to Matt. I love this. Matt Hardy is giving manager contracts to the Private Party to officially be their manager. He's going to take a 30% cut. I think he 20 or 30. I think he said 30% cut out of their income, and then. But he's going to allow, despite taking 30%, he's going to allow them to have Cameo and Twitch. I thought that was a funny little shot there at WWE. Good stuff. After that, we have the TNT title weigh-in. This is going to be interesting. We're going to have Darby Allin and Brian Cage doing a weigh-in for their TNT title match, which I believe is next week. We saw the new belt. I was surprised that it's already been remade already. I thought they were going to change up the design a little bit. They didn't. They kept the design pretty much the same, but instead of the red strap on the old belt, this one's got black. Now, this belt looks a lot better, I think, than the old one. I wasn't even a big fan of the TNT title belt, even when it was finished. At first, it wasn't finished, and then they finished it and gold-plated it. Looked better, but there's something about that red strap, and there's something a little bland and plain about the championship, and I've never really been a huge fan of it. This is better, but I still wanted more. Like, I was expecting to see a completely redesigned title that might take a month to debut, because I thought, with the Brody Lee stuff, they kind of made that decision on the fly and give the belt to the kid, to Junior. So they probably even started designing or developing the new belt yet, but they basically just take the same design, put it on a black strap, which looks better anyway. And I'm glad they did that. But part of me was just hoping for like a completely new newly designed title. I don't know why. I guess I was never really a fan of it to begin with, but I do think it looks better. Looks great on Darby. They do the weigh-in, by the way. Darby's giving up 100 pounds to Brian Cage. Darby weighs in at 170, and Brian Cage weighs in at 270. So that was pretty hilarious. And Darby is pissed. He's like, I've been dealing with bullies like you my whole life. And he wants to throw down. He picks up the skateboard. He's ready to start clocking all these guys. And that's when Sting comes out to make the save again. Same type of thing we've seen with both these guys for the past couple of weeks, them backing up each other, saving each other. But it was weird because you had the entirety of Team Taz in the ring and only Darby Allin holding a skateboard. And when Sting comes out, his entrance takes 4.5 years to play. Why wasn't Team Taz just attacking Darby Allin right there? Sting just slowly walks out to the ring. Team Taz retreats, and they run away, and Darby and Sting kind of just hang there together. I think Team Taz, if they really wanted to fuck this kid up, they had a chance to before Sting even got out there. Sting's 61. What's he going to do, sprint to the ring? So far, he's just walked everywhere he's went. So I don't know why they retreated when Sting came out there. They had some time. Sting's got an Undertaker entrance. Takes them forever to get out there. So they had some time to beat up Darby. They didn't, and that made them look like pussies. After that, we had a backstage segment with Marco Stunt getting pissed at the FTR. FTR approaches Jurassic Express backstage. Marco's furious. It is such a good thing that Luchasaurus was there to hold Marco Stunt back because he would have fucking killed FTR. Had they unleashed Marco Stunt onto those two guys, their career would be over. They'd probably be back in NXT in the next couple of months because they would be completely humiliated and ran right out of AEW had Marco Stunt been allowed to get his hands on them. But luckily, Luchasaurus stopped that from happening. Marco Stunt was really sick of listening to the FTR shit, so he proposes a match for next week. He's going to take Luchasaurus' place and team up with Jungle Boy to take on FTR. So watch out, FTR. You have now raised the ire of Marco Stunt, and you are going to feel his wrath next week, and may God have mercy on your soul. After that, we had Cody taking on Matt Seidel. Now, Cody was escorted to the ring, or accompanied to the ring, by Snoop Dogg. Snoop was there. By the way, pray for Dre. Hope he's doing well. Snoop is out there playing the role of Arn Anderson, complete with the Denny's menu, which I loved. He's like looking at it and shit. Almost takes a bump on the outside of the ring. I think there's an outside bump where Seidel and Cody spill over the top rope or something onto the stage, and Snoop comes very, very close to getting his leg clipped there and maybe falling off the stage himself. That was pretty funny. Really good match here with Cody and Seidel as well. I guess, shit. I messed up my notes. Hold on. Scroll. There he goes. I moved my notes. I couldn't read. So match goes on. There's an interesting spot in the outside of the ring during the match where Cody accidentally hits Serpentico, who's out there with Luther and a bunch of other wrestlers on the outside of the ring. That would play into the match later on. Match continues in the ring. Cody gets the knees up on a big shooting star from Matt Seidel and even kicks out of the lightning spiral, which is Matt Seidel's finisher, and then winds up hitting 2 crossroads of his own for the win and wins the match. After the match, Serpentico and Luther jump in the ring, attack Cody, start beating him down. Matt Seidel comes back to help out Cody because he's a babyface trying to help out the babyface. And that's when Snoop gets in the ring. And we see him actually get up on the top rope, and they get Serpentico down. And Snoop, who Jericho keeps screaming is 9 feet tall or 8 feet tall or whatever he says, and I don't know how old Snoop is now. He's old. And he gets up to the top rope, and he jumps off the top rope and splashes Serpentico in the most hilarious looking splash. And you know what? One that I didn't even care that looked so bad. It looked terrible, leaves a lot to be desired. The entire wrestling world, including Sasha Banks and others, commented on how horrible it looked. But you know what? Give Snoop credit. He's a tall, lanky motherfucker. He's got no business being up there anyway. I'm not sure how much better anybody can do who's never been inside of a ring or climbed the ropes before could do. I'm sure he practiced this earlier on in the day, but Snoop's old, Snoop's not an athlete. Snoop's not in any sort of shape, and he got up there and delivered that thing, took guts to do that, and to me, he gets credit for that more than anything else. Yes, it looked ridiculous, but it was a fun spot, and who would have thought you'd see Snoop doing a top rope splash in a wrestling ring? WWE has worked with Snoop a lot. They've brought him in. They put him in the Hall of Fame. He's been on Raw a couple of times. He never did anything physical in there, really, I don't think. So it was pretty funny to see him do this. In terms of any heat that he may or may not have from WWE, I've said this right from the start. No, I think that would be absolutely silly. When he was announced for AEW, fans were thinking that, oh, Sasha Banks is going to drop the SmackDown title. They're going to bury her. I'm like, why would they do that? Even WWE doesn't have that level of pettiness in them because of how much they've spent and how much time, money they've invested in Sasha Banks and her character and her role there and her legacy and spot on the women's roster, and this long-running feud with Bayley, this friendship into the feud, and Sasha Banks taking time off and finding her way back to the title, and all of this to end all of this because you're annoyed that her cousin made an appearance on the competition. That would be, not even WWE is that dumb, and I always laughed off that that idea that WWE, that Sasha Banks is going to have some heat here. Even Fightful Select earlier this week reported on it, so there's no heat whatsoever, and that's what I said a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, WWE, they have no right to be pissed. Snoop's not under contract with them. He might have worked with them in the past, but that does not make him obligated to WWE at all. And on top of that, he's on that Go Big Show thing. He's on the TNT show. So the fact that they cross-promoted that with AEW is not a surprise, just like they're doing with the NBA on TNT and bringing Shaq in and shit like that. It's what they do. So it's what happens in wrestling a lot. So I had said that I would be very surprised if WWE was mad at Snoop in any way, shape, or form. And apparently they're not, and that's good, because that would be in just an unprecedented level of pettiness if WWE were to actually hinder the career of Sasha Banks because of Snoop. No. I couldn't see that happening at all. And I'm glad that it doesn't appear to be an issue. And Snoop's appearance on the show was probably just a one-time deal. It was just to promote the reality show thing that comes on after that, and that was it. It's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to lead to much else, and I don't think we're going to see Snoop in the ring working any title matches anytime soon in AEW. It's probably the last time we'll see him there for a while, most likely. So that was fun. Just seeing Snoop do that cracked me the hell up. Did you see he had his doggy style hoodie on from his album? That was one of the very first CDs I ever bought. I remember I finally got a CD player in like 92 or 93. I was still using tapes up until I was like 16 or 17 years old. I was late to the party. I remember finally getting a CD player, and I went to the record store, and that was the first album I bought. I bought that one and something else. I think I bought that one and Pearl Jam or something together was the first two CDs. So whenever I see that album cover, I get happy, and Snoop was wearing a hoodie with that. So great to see Snoop. Awesome. That leaves us with the AEW title match to close the show. The main event, Kenny Omega defending the AEW title against Rey Fenix in the absolute epitome of what a championship match should be. Holy Jesus shit, this was good. And if you guys tell me, for those of you who watched Wrestle Kingdom, if you saw Ibushi and Naito, or Ibushi and Jay White, both phenomenal. If you saw Okada and Ospreay, how does this one compare to those? I think it was every bit as good, maybe even a little bit better. I'm still going to give the nod. The Ibushi Jay White match was so good and so long, went almost an hour, no commercials, shit like that. Was probably better than a TV match. But my God, the things that these two guys can do are ridiculous. Luckily, nobody died in here. We had a really cool spot in the match where it was like a V-trigger that was almost gone unsold and immediately into a super kick, which Kenny ate and almost knocked his head off. But if you want this, I'm not going to do this match justice. Just go back and watch it. We're going to skip to the finish here because so much happened after the match that was important. Omega wind up hitting a Tiger Driver, V-trigger, and One-Winged Angel trio combo for the win there. So he finally put down Rey Fenix, but boy, did Fenix fight his ass off there. That was great. Now, after the match, after Kenny retains in this hard-fought match, Callis gets on the mic, starts cutting a promo, tells the producer to roll the footage on the screen. I heard something's going on back there or whatever, and it shows the Death Triangle, the remaining members of the Death Triangle anyway, being attacked by the Kingston family, which means nobody's out there to save Phoenix. So they're being dealt with backstage, which allows them to continue the assault on Rey Fenix, and they instruct Kenny to kind of end his career and finish him off with one more One-Winged Angel or something like that apparently is going to do Phoenix in. But Mox comes out to make the save. So Moxley's back. He's there. I think he's got the barbed wire baseball bat with him, and he saves Phoenix. And that's when Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers, jump the railing, invade the current Impact, not AEW, Impact tag team champions, jump the railing, get in the ring. They attack Jon Moxley, and they have now invaded AEW, which is cool because they've been doing some stuff with Kenny Omega lately on Impact TV as well. And I'm really happy to see them get involved here because there was rumors that they were going to sign with them when they left WWE. For them to turn up in Impact, I think surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people just assumed they would go to AEW. Apparently that was AEW's assumption as well, and there might have been just a teensy bit of heat there that they didn't wind up going there. We had heard that, reported by several news sites back when they signed and all of that. So the fact that this working agreement is now in full swing, it allows these guys to appear in AEW, and I think that's great. So they've got Gallows and Anderson in there. They're kicking ass. Some of the talent starts then trying to come stop them. The first two people in the ring are Garrison and Pillman, the Varsity Blondes, and they are quickly disposed of. What I would like to see, like this week on Dynamite or in the very near future, is to see Good Brothers versus Varsity Blondes. Just a random match. Just to see them in the AEW ring, I think would be cool. Give them a match there. And put them against Pillman and Garrison, who they can beat the shit out of and win and look very strong and all that. I would like to see that in the future. But Garrison and Pillman, along with a few other pieces of talent, get disposed of by everybody in the ring. Moxley is just getting worn out, by the way, with Omega by the barbed wire bat. He's just hitting him repeatedly. So Moxley's getting his ass kicked. And he's kind of laying there, and you got Omega, you got Callis, you got Gallows and Anderson are all standing around Moxley's prone body there, and that's when the Young Bucks come out to the ring. Young Bucks come out there to kind of almost like try to be peacemakers or trying to like calm down Kenny. Don't kill this guy. They're trying to back up Good Brothers, and they're all kind of looking at each other a little bit weird. And that's when I think Omega is attacked by Griff Garrison again, and the Bucks dispose of him, actually help Kenny Omega out a little bit. And he kind of looks at him like, okay, thanks for helping me. And there's just a lot of this kind of confusion here. Nobody really knows where anyone's alliances or feelings stand, and they're all kind of just looking around. And that's when Omega steps to the middle of the ring, and he puts up the big too sweet thing, or the for life sign, or whatever the hell it is, the click sign, or the sign that Jericho, it's that sign, it's that hand sign, because I don't remember what the legal agreement is here. I remember at one point, Bucks were getting cease and desists for using that sign. But here they're using it on TV, so I don't know the details or the why or why not this is not allowed. I think maybe you can't call it the click sign or the symbol or whatever the fuck, but they throw up the sign. Gallows and Anderson are very quick to do it. And then the Bucks, right as we're fading to black, literally about a second and a half before they fade to black, they put their hands up as well. Very, very cool visual to end AEW Dynamite with a very little Bullet Club reunion there with these guys all doing the hand sign to close the show. And just that there alone was a brilliant way to end it, because that just immediately, that's what you want out of wrestling shows. You want to leave them wanting more. You want the audience to want more. I wanted more of that, because now I'm immediately intrigued of where this is going to lead. Holy shit. We just saw a Bullet Club reunion in AEW. We saw tag team champions from another promotion jump the barricade and invade. And then we saw all of them align in the ring at the end of the show doing the thing and the whole deal. What does this mean? Where can this go? This is awesome. Who else is a member of the Bullet Club? Kenta, who's got a match coming up with Jon Moxley for the U.S. title at some point in the future. That could tie in here. Could we potentially see a three-way working agreement with Impact, AEW, and New Japan? And you got to remember, AEW is working with NWA as well. They got Thunder Rosa there and Serena Deeb and people like that working in and out of the company as well. They brought Ricky Starks in. So it seems like they're working with everybody, which is kind of cool. It gives a lot of people a rub. It gives the fans a lot of fresh matches. It gives a lot of fans a lot of stuff to speculate on, and it keeps them on their toes. They're not doing things like by the book. They're not doing like the typical WWE playbook way of booking stuff. They're just having fun here. They're bringing all sorts of guys in. Hopefully this will not get convoluted and too messy and where, who's going to go over and shit like that. But based on who they're working with so far, they've kind of got the upper hand. If New Japan comes into play here, then it might be a little more difficult for cooperation and stuff like that. But Impact and NWA should be happy that they're affiliated with AEW right now, and they should do whatever AEW tells them to do. So I think that this Bullet Club reunion opens up doors to where it could maybe just go nowhere at all. It was just a 1 week thing, and Bucks are a little bit resistant to it, or it could be a full-blown alliance. This is going to spill over into Impact now, because I believe they have Hard to Kill a week from today. Not sure. Help me out. I think it's a week from today. So Hard to Kill will be interesting, and we'll see if you can see some guys jumping over there. Maybe Moxley shows up there to get his hands on Omega or something like that. Plus, you got to factor in New Japan and the fact that there was a Bullet Club reunion here. You do have Bullet Club members in New Japan as well. One of those members will be facing Jon Moxley, the guy that all these guys whooped, whose ass he whooped on Dynamite. This could all just intertwine. You know what I mean? And I like that a lot. And it really keeps my, keeps me on edge, keeps me on my toes, thinking about, okay, what are they going to do? This isn't just the same old bullshit that's predictable in wrestling that we can see coming a mile away. There's actual questions and shit up in the air here that we don't know. And I think that any sort of Bullet Club reunion in AEW is going to be a lot of fun, and what that can translate into going into Impact. Somebody mentioned to me on Twitter the other day, do I think Generation Me could show up on Impact? Yes, I do. That would be awesome if the Bucks showed up there as Generation Me and had a tag match with somebody or interfered or whatever. That would be very cool, whether it be at Hard to Kill or just on an episode of Impact or something like that. This is cool. I really wish that COVID was not a problem right now, because Impact, I tried to watch it. I can't watch this empty arena shit. I just fucking can't. But this makes it more interesting to where I have been able to check it out a little bit, and it's really made me interested in Impact for the first time, like literally ever. You know, even when they were great, I was somewhat resistant to them for some reason, to TNA and stuff. Just didn't like them. But now it's a whole different story. I wish that Impact was able to have an audience. I wish we weren't dealing with this, because this would make this even that much more exciting if we could have full crowds in attendance for some of these shows. We'll see, you know, where it leads down the road. But I like that there's all these working agreements. I just think that's really cool. It's not something that we see very often. And that's why I brought up the idea for WWE and SmackDown, maybe doing something similar, not similar, but if you could have like a reunion of Ring of Honor guys, Scrap Iron, Steen, Danielson, and what was the other one I meant? And Cesaro or Claudio. That would be very awesome. And WWE could form their own little alliance there with these guys, and you know they'd be over with the smart fans. And maybe that's their little way of countering what's going on in AEW. I don't know. Maybe they're not even paying attention. But that was awesome way to end Dynamite. I love that. So we'll see where it goes. I'm excited for this week. And we do have some matches announced, right? I kind of went over theirs earlier on. Serena Deeb and Tay Conti is next week. I've got that written down for next week. We've got a waiting room talk show segment, but I believe is debuting. Has Britt done one of these yet? It's perfect for her. It's going to be the waiting room with Dr. Britt Baker. Her first guest is going to be Cody Rhodes. That's next week as well. And I think there's another match or two that has been announced for next week, but I don't have them written down. So Dynamite should be pretty badass this week. It should be pretty badass. And it was a really good show. So was New Year's Evil. This was great. NXT New Year's Evil was hosted by Dexter Lumis. Very cool opening hit there with him like flipping the lever and the shit coming on and all that. Really like that. We did get one match that was knocked off of this. It was the Fight Pit match against Ciampa and Thatcher. I guess Thatcher is injured, so they had to scrap that one. But hopefully we'll get that one in the future, because I was kind of looking forward to that. The opening match was good. Presented commercial-free by NXT. Very nice of WWE. Nice competition tactic there going up against AEW. Cross looked good. So did Damien Priest. I really like this. The word on the street was that Damien Priest is actually supposed to be called up to the SmackDown roster. I was kind of surprised that he dropped the North American title when he did, and I just assumed that he would find his way back to it since he didn't really have a long run with it anyway. I didn't see the point in taking it off of him that quick, unless they plan to call him up, and apparently he was supposed to be on SmackDown next week involved in something, and they scrapped it. So now he's back on NXT. He's got this match with Karrion Kross. Probably the toughest match Kross has had to date. Maybe not. Lee gave him a good run for his money too, but Damien impressed me more than Karrion Kross in this match. And I love Karrion Kross. I love the presentation with him and Scarlett. I think the whole thing's great. I want him to find his way back to the title and everything, but I really liked Priest's demeanor here. Showed really how good he is. There's a few areas in the ring where I think he's better than Karrion Kross, to be honest. And I liked kind of the way he had this kind of like smirk on his face when he was getting his ass kicked by Karrion Kross, which I liked. A little story there that he's kind of just defiant, and he's his own man. He's a man's man, really. And even near the end, when Kross catches him with a Saito suplex and then goes for the forearm at the back of the head, as Damien's kind of getting up, he kind of does that little smirk. He kind of laughs like he knows he's about to be executed, and he just smiles, and then he's just crushed from behind with a forearm right to the back of the head by Karrion Kross, who rolls him over and pins him and gets the win. And that was that. So we'll have to see here in the next couple of weeks if Damien Priest and Rhea Ripley will be moving up to the main roster. It feels like that is likely, since Damien was supposed to and then held back. And then based on what we're going to talk about here in a minute with Rhea Ripley, she could be behind him. So we'll see where that goes. Santos Escobar defeated Gran Metalik to retain the Cruiserweight title in a very good match there. He hit the Phantom Driver for the win. Not much to say about that other than it was really good, and Gran Metalik is fucking awesome. And I wouldn't mind this guy being champion again one day either. We had the return of Xia Li. This was interesting. We've been seeing all these crazy vignettes with Xia Li and Boa and this mystery master or whatever, and they were getting their asses kicked and tortured and all of these segments. Now she's back. Now she's ready to get back in the ring. This was a complete squash against Katrina Cortez. She kind of has a new look, new music. Bo was out there with her. I think the woman in the chair was up at the stage and all that, and she seemed almost impervious to pain, Xia Li. She was very vicious, and every time poor Katrina tried to do anything to her, there was just no selling whatsoever. And I like that. I'm intrigued about the storyline because I don't really know still really what they're doing here and what the motivation is and why Xia Li and Boa were both completely tortured like that, but it's turned them into very scary and awesome badasses now, and there's a more of a darker tone. There's so many of these type of entrances. I think Karrion Kross, Damien Priest, and Xia Li all seem like they have really similar tones to their entrances, like fire and darkness and all that shit. So that's cool. I've always liked Xia Li. I'm glad that this is something for her to do, because before she was just Xia Li having matches. Now she's Xia Li with some sort of supernatural powers, and this is kind of interesting. So we'll see, where this goes, and if they do continue to push her as somebody that cannot be defeated, or she's gone through so much preparation and training that she's kind of unbeatable and unhurtable, this could lead down the road to something with her and Io Shirai. So who knows what's going to happen there, but I like it, honestly. After that, we had just a fantastic match between Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. Last woman standing match. Props to both ladies. I've been singing the praises of Raquel Gonzalez lately on the podcast because I really, really like her. I tend to get these crushes, these different crushes on these women. Oh, I really like her. I really like her. And Raquel is just my current thing. I think she's great. I like her size. I like the way she works in the ring. She is so much better than I thought she would be when she first appeared. I thought she was going to be just a big wrestler that can't move a whole lot, but my God, is she strong and good and good and good. And I absolutely love her. They've already battled once before. Rhea Ripley beat her with a riptide from the second rope, I think, and pinned her. And the fact that they're doing this rematch, last woman standing, talk of Rhea Ripley maybe moving up to the main roster, not much left for her really to accomplish at this point in NXT. Felt like all the stars were aligning here for Raquel to get a victory. And that's what happened. These two women beat the crap out of each other. Rhea Ripley, they brawl all over the arena, including in the back, and Ripley gets Raquel down on a table and just delivers a really sick-looking swanton, which it wasn't even a swanton. A swanton, you're supposed to kind of graze them as you go down. She just landed flat on Raquel right through the table, and somehow this does not end the match because Dakota Kai comes out and breaks up the 10 counts. That would have been it for Raquel, but her tag team partner showed up and broke it up and allowed Raquel to recover. Rhea Ripley does not take too kindly to that, grabs Dakota, beats the shit out of her, and stuffs her in one of the lockers. There's like a set of lockers right there where the bump happened. She stuffed her in the locker and shut the door. That was great. They continue to brawl. They're up on the stage. We have another 9 count on the stage where both ladies just get up in the nick of time. They bring out the steel steps that are on the stage, and it looks like she's standing on them. She's going to deliver, I don't know, a power bomb or something like that to Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel sweeps her legs out from under her. Rhea lands on the steps, and that's when Raquel grabs her and power bombs her through some sort of gimmicked contraption on the stage, off the stage, through a table or through a platform, and then down to the floor. Huge looking bump there. They both went through there, but Rhea Ripley took the worst of it because it was kind of like I don't know if it's a sit down or a running power bomb or whatever Raquel did to her, but she went through the stage with Rhea Ripley, but then emerges in the last couple of seconds, maybe at a 6 or 7 count, to crawl out of the rubble and get up and make it to her feet in time before the 10 count and emerges victorious. So that is a huge, huge, huge win for Raquel Gonzalez. Last woman standing match was a good match to do there. That way you're not pinning Rhea or making her submit or anything like that. And it took a lot of help for Raquel to get it done, but she did. Now she could be the big dog in town there in NXT, the big powerhouse that you have to look out for. And Rhea Ripley could then go up to the main roster. Would love to see her on Raw and get into the middle of that Asuka and Charlotte mix, because I would love to see Rhea and Charlotte do the rematch this year. I know I'm a big Asuka fan, but part of me wants Charlotte and Asuka to have a match at the Royal Rumble and Charlotte to beat her for the title and then go into WrestleMania and drop it to Rhea Ripley. That's what I would like to see. I feel like that would right the wrong of last year. A lot of people were pissed that Rhea Ripley lost, and a lot of people have heard that it wasn't the original plan and shit like that. And Raw, the Raw team was struggling to cooperate with with an NXT writing team in terms of how you book stuff, and it was just a fucking mess. So I'm not sure that's going to translate in any better news for Rhea Ripley on the Raw roster, but I think if they really want to make Rhea a star and one of their top women on the roster, this is a match she needs to have. Charlotte's won enough at WrestleMania. Now, if Charlotte beats her, I'm not going to flip my lid or anything. Everybody else will. I won't. But based on the fact that Charlotte has had huge victories at WrestleMania, 4 championships, winning championships, including last year, this would be an excellent way to get Ripley back on the map, do the rematch in Tampa where it was supposed to be to begin with. Remember when they were building this match and they did the deal at Raymond James Stadium where they were filming Rhea Ripley in the middle of the football field, looking around at all the seats. Oh, it's going to be so awesome when I'm here facing Charlotte and for the title and 80,000 people. And that never happened for her, much like Drew McIntyre. They didn't get to have these moments. So if it's back in Tampa, you got a chance to do this again, and then you can put Rhea Ripley over this time. So that's what I'm hoping happens. Now, for Rhea to get there, she's probably going to have to win the Royal Rumble or win the Elimination Chamber in order to get that match for Charlotte. And I think she has a legitimate chance to win one of those. So, like I've said before, I think Chamber would be better for her. I hope it's SmackDown. I hope like Bianca Belair wins the Royal Rumble, and then you can put Rhea in the Elimination Chamber. She wins that, challenges Charlotte, and you get Ripley versus Charlotte. Or you can throw Asuka in there and do a 3-way, which also is something WWE is likely to do. But in the end, I really hope 2021 Ripley can get back where she was at the end of 2019, because she looked like she was going to be the next Goldberg, and next thing you know, it's over. So we'll see where that goes. But since she now lost to Raquel, what does she do? What does Ripley do in NXT at this point? You got to bring her up, right? So hopefully we'll see her appear on Raw in the near future. After that, we got a promo by The Way. Of course, that's the name of that faction is still hard to get used to, but The Way is out there. Pretty funny. Johnny Gargano's bragging about that he finally broke the streak of losing the North American title, and he's presented with a plaque, I think, from Candice, and Austin gives him some sort of painted artwork of the 4 of them, which was pretty funny. And they also announced that Austin and Johnny Gargano are going to enter the Dusty Tag Team Classic. By the way, in terms of the Dusty Tag Team Classic, there is going to be 2 of them. Not only is there going to be a men's, there's going to be a women's, which is cool. They should have named it the Sapphire Classic or something like that. But Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is going to have a men's and a women's tournament. Those matches are going to take place on NXT and 205 Live, or at least the men are. So keep a lookout for that. Austin and Gargano are entering themselves into that classic. Right off the bat, they're probably a favorite to win it as well, based on who else is probably going to be in this thing. They're talking in the ring a lot. Johnny receives his gifts. Shotzi Blackheart comes out to the stage with the tank. Austin gets pissed and runs out to confront her, and she shoots him right in the dick with one of the missiles. That was funny. She gets in the ring, brawls with Candice LeRae. Kushida comes in to help out, and that's when Dexter Lumis, who's on the outside of the ring just standing there, starts ringing the ring bell, and they're all looking around like, what? And he just points up to the Tron or up to the screen, and they show a graphic of an artwork of a mixed tag team match with Gargano and Candice taking on Kushida and Shotzi. And I think you hear Gargano, one of them is like, how did he draw that fast? That was kind of funny. So we go to commercial, we come back, and we got the mixed tag. And of course, we do get Shotzi and Kushida defeating the Garganos, which was nice. We had Austin Theory hit. Oh, yeah. Austin Theory took another nut shot in the match, by the way. And then we had Kushida rolling up Johnny for the win. And it looks like since Kushida and Johnny Gargano have had a couple of run-ins now on TV, and Johnny is your North American title holder, stands to reason that Kushida might be his next challenger. And that will be a pretty good series of matches right there. Even one match, even if it's not a long program, you give me some Kushida and Johnny wrestling, I'm cool with that. That leaves us with the main event of NXT. NXT title on the line. Finn Balor finally back in the ring since the last time he faced Kyle O'Reilly in a rematch, a takeover from a while back. And this one was really good. The Jaw was the story here. The Jaw was the story of Balor in their first encounter. Turns out to be the story for Kyle O'Reilly here. He's in a submission. He's in a hold or something. He's trying to grab the ropes. He can't grab the ropes, so he has to use his teeth to grab the ropes. Balor kicks the ropes, immediately fucking up O'Reilly's jaw, and that was the story throughout the match. In the end, Balor taps out. Riley even grabs his jaw at the end just to ensure that he's going to tap the hell out and retains the title in a very, very great match. It was good. It lived up to what they did before. I like Kyle O'Reilly. I think he's a stud. I think both these guys are awesome. With Balor working the jaw and O'Reilly working the arm, it made for a great wrestling match. And in the end, Balor retains, which you figured he has to. You got to remember, he's kind of an interim champion right now anyway, since Karrion Kross got injured. And I'm assuming that they're going to hold off on the rematch as long as they can. But the next takeover seems to be a likely spot where Balor is going to have to face Kross, you would assume. Maybe Balor faces somebody else, but Kross, he's former champion. He had to relinquish the title. Big win against Damien Priest. How is he not? going to be the challenger for Finn Balor. You know what I mean? So it feels like that's probably what we're going to get at the next takeover, which is I was about to say Saint Valentine's Day Massacre. It's on Valentine's Day. So they announced that on NXT that the next takeover would take place on Valentine's Day, which means February 14th must be a Sunday this year. But man, they should have called it Saint Valentine's Day Massacre. They've brought back other concepts: In Your House, Halloween Havoc, Bash at the Beach, or Great American Bash, War Games. Why not St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Maybe they feel that Massacre is an appropriate name for right now, considering the hell that we're all going through in this world. So maybe that's why. But my God, they could have brought that back, done a cage match. Somebody does a Vince cage bump to tribute that or whatever. It's been, when was that? 99, 22 years ago. That show was. I watched it live on TV. When Vince went through that table, I thought he was a dead person. He lived through it. But anyway, that was your NXT in a nutshell. Both shows I thought were really good. If I have to make a decision here on which show was better, I'm going to give the nod to AEW because of the ending there. I thought there was a lot of good stuff on the show, a lot of good matches throughout the show. Interesting matches. Like I said, I liked the Wardlow and Jake Hager match. I liked the Cody and Matt Seidel match with Snoop's involvement. I liked, and I really, really, really liked the main event and the Bullet Club stuff at the end. Oh, and I didn't even mention this. Shit, I glossed right over that. I'm so sorry. We're going to backtrack here just a minute, all the way back to AEW. I did not even talk about Shida and Abaddon for the women's title. That match took place as well, and it was a little bit underwhelming. I thought the build to what they were doing with those two was much better than the match itself. Shida finds her way. They both get under the ring, and Abaddon comes out with a bloody mouth, and Shida's been like bit in the neck and all that. But in the end, Shida is able to overcome Abaddon and retain the title. And I didn't mention that earlier on. She hits her finisher and beats her pretty much clean, which was great. I like Shida. But I thought based on everything they did on TV leading up to this with Abaddon and Shida, I'd get a little bit more out of it in the match. So I'm sorry for omitting that match earlier on when I was talking about AEW. But I'm still giving AEW the nod. I thought both shows were great. Both title matches were great. But based on that closing segment of Dynamite, that left the door open for so many more possibilities that it made me intrigued. And I got to give the nod to AEW. But NXT, New Year's Evil was still very good. And like I said, Balor now has overcome that Kyle O'Reilly hump, and he's going to have a fresh new challenger coming up on TakeOver, and that should be pretty awesome, especially if it likely turns out to be Karrion Kross. And I don't know how they're going to make that happen. If they're going to do the same thing that they always do in any show, and that is make a match, triple threat, or two matches, 3 matches, winners facing a triple threat, winner gets the title shot, some bullshit like that. But based on Karrion Kross never losing the title and him putting down a pretty tough opponent in Damien Priest, I think that automatically gets him the title shot. I don't think Karrion Kross should need to do anything else to get the title shot, but February 14th is more than a month away, so we've got some time here to burn. If they announce the match right away, you got 5 weeks of build between these two. That might even be a little bit too much what do you do for 5 weeks before the match gets there? So keep them, drag it out a little bit, maybe in a week or two, then make it official with the match or something like that. But either way, it should be interesting because we've been waiting for this one. And what do you think? What are the chances we see the Demon? I don't think there's a very good chance. I think Balor's been Balor for a while. I think maybe if they really want to put over Kross huge, maybe he beats Balor for the title and Balor gets a rematch and he wrestles him as the Demon and then he loses again to Kross. I don't know. But Kross and Demon would be one hell of a fucking match. So however this goes, I hope it leads to that. It might lead to the WrestleMania. Are they doing the takeover in conjunction with WrestleMania this year? Are they probably not? I don't know how that works. What they do last year. So maybe you do the match at Massacre, put the title on Kross, and then have the Demon challenge for the title. That might be fun. And who knows if they'll bring Balor back to the main roster. I hope not. I hope he stays in NXT. But either way, it looks like Balor versus Kross will probably be your championship match on Valentine's Day. That should be fun. So we all be my Valentine. We'll hang out. We'll live tweet together on Valentine's Day. Maybe we'll even do a live stream. That will be great. Well, now I'll go back over here and answer more questions in the chat. Oh, thank you. I've not been looking at the chat, so thank you, Monkey Wrenches, for taking care of a couple of morons. Appreciate that. Do me a favor, too. Smash the thumbs up button if you don't mind. Keep getting those likes up. They really, really help the channel right now, and I could really, really use them. So my goal this year in 2021 is to do more likes than I did in 2020. So please hook me up with that. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to knock out some of these super chats and then see if there's any other questions we have to get into. And that should pretty much be it because I don't have anything in my notes here that I haven't discussed. Talked about the news, talked about SmackDown, talked about Dynamite, talked about NXT, talked a little bit about the Royal Rumble. But it's not really time to speculate too hard on that yet because we only have a couple of matches and one of them is likely going to be changed, and there's absolutely no telling what's going on with the Royal Rumble. I don't even know. WWE probably doesn't even know who's winning the Royal Rumbles yet. I seriously doubt it. They're going to decide that shit probably lunchtime, day of Royal Rumble, who's going to go over in those. So it's almost like pointless to speculate because I don't think WWE knows. At this point, it would just be about guessing and hoping you guess right. It ain't going to make you smart. Okay, I'm not behind on super chats at all. I was thinking there was a bunch. I only got one hanging out here from Deshaun Robinson. Appreciate the 2. Daniel Bryan says he wants more NXT talent on SmackDown. He does. More NXT talent. Daniel Bryan has his reasons. I'm not going to disagree with Daniel Bryan. He knows more than me. I don't know what talent for. I mean, it looks like they're going to get some more. I think Damien Priest is going to come up, even though he was scrapped last week for whatever reason. I think that'll still happen, especially since he lost here to Karrion Kross. And Gargano seems like he's moving on to a different opponent for the North American title. Frees him up to go over to the main roster if they do that. So he'll show up there for sure. But you don't want to deplete what you got in NXT either. You got to remember, they still have a show on cable TV every Wednesday that's going head-to-head with another show. So you don't want to take too much talent away. I think the 2 big ones, and those are big enough, losing Damien and losing Rhea Ripley, I think are 2 big enough losses for NXT for right now. I don't think you need to take anybody else away, at least immediately, unless you have a couple of people showing up in the Royal Rumble, which I'm sure you will. I'm sure we'll get some NXT women and men in both of the respective Royal Rumbles, but in terms of hardcore, full-blown call-ups, Priest and Ripley are the only 2 I think we should do, at least for right now. And then maybe just cool it for a bit after WrestleMania. Like we always see, usually after WrestleMania, bring a couple of people up or call up a couple of people up or have some returns, surprises, whatever. But for right now, Priest and Rhea are the only ones I personally need to see. The waiting room might be the new King's Court with Lawler. Maybe not the same thing. It might be, could be anything. It could be the Heartbreak Hotel. It could be Miz TV. It could be what was Jericho's show? What was Jericho's show called? Highlight Reel. Could be, we have a million shows. Who else? Didn't Ziggler have a show? Miz has a show. Kevin Owens show. Something like that. And they don't have one of those, do they, on AEW? Does anybody have a recurring talk show segment on AEW yet? I don't think so. So yeah, they need one of these. I like it. The waiting room. I'm curious what the setting is going to be. If it's going to be in the room, or I'm sorry, in the ring with like dentist chairs and shit, or if it's going to be in a backstage setting, like a studio setting in an actual waiting room. And it's going to be like a sit-down interview. I think something like that would be better in the ring because you can have brawls and matches made and shit like that. So we'll see. But Britt Baker, that's a pretty good role for her. I like her in this, kind of asshole role. I like her as a heel. She's funny. And this is a good role for her. I've been saying for months, put the belt on her. Now that she's over as a heel and all that, put the belt on her. She has the most to offer in terms of a character of all the women you have, but they're holding off on it. They're holding off on Britt getting the belt, and this waiting room talk show segment could be something for her to do in the meantime. I see Nate says he sees Rhea Ripley appearing most likely on the night after Royal Rumble Raw episode. The Way is a comedy faction with a lot. Oh, I thought you said the Way. The Way is a comedy faction with a lot of potential. That's just my opinion. Yeah, The Way's great. I do like The Way. Johnny Gargano's hilarious, and him and Candice and their dynamic, and Austin Theory and is growing on me a little bit, and Indy Hartwell is there. But yeah, they're pretty funny. The way they run, they're very all over the place. They're very spazzy, kind of. Gargano's just a million miles an hour. I like it. I don't dislike The Way at all. Yeah, Ripley showing up after the Royal Rumble, I would prefer that because I don't think she's going to win the Rumble. Like I said, I think she should win the Chamber. So I think they should have somebody already there win the Rumble, bring in Rhea Ripley in to win the Rumble. I don't want to see that. They could bring her in and have her get her tossed out or whatever. That's fine too. We'll just have to see. But that's a long time off for her to be too. If she's not going to appear anymore in NXT and she is done there, that means she's off TV for a month until she debuts on Raw after the Royal Rumble. So it feels like WWE would want to maybe get her on TV before then and just get her there and establish her. But I don't know. Could go either way on that. And I really don't have a preference. I don't care what they do. They can do it either way. I'll be fine with it. That's right. Big Show made his debut at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. We knew he would. Me and Daniel watched that together. And when he debuted, I think the word was out. I think we were expecting him that night to debut. I remember not being that surprised. Like, we knew he was gone from WCW. He had jobbed out there. I think the last match I watched him wrestle on was like a Nitro match against Goldberg, like in January, and he got beat and he was gone. And it was just a matter of time before he turned up. So him turning up in that match was a little bit, I don't know if it was a great moment, the way he picked up Austin and threw him through the cage and everything, but it made him look dumb on his like debut. He should have come in a more impactful way. He should have came in and helped somebody win a match, not help somebody lose a match. And within just a few weeks, you got Vince McMahon slapping him in the face and Austin's stunning him and pinning him on Raw. I remember, I couldn't believe that. That might have been the go-home show, I think, to WrestleMania 15. I think it was Big Show in Austin, and it was the first time seeing Big Show in the ring, in WWE ring, and he ate a stunner and got pinned. I was really surprised that that's the way they brought him in. Probably not the best way. He did not start out so good in WWE. They didn't know what to call him. He was Paul White at first, and then they kind of morphed into the Big Show and all of that. So, yeah, he could have debuted better, but the match was still very good. That bump Vince took, I'll never forget. Taylor, yes, I am doing, am I planning doing a live watch-along for the Royal Rumble? I'll do a live watch-along. That's the plan right now. I'll be up here for the Royal Rumble on the 31st. We'll watch it. We did that last year. It was a lot of fun. You guys were able to see my authentic reaction to Edge coming out. It was very cool. Very sad day last year on the day of the Royal Rumble. It was the same day Kobe Bryant died. So I remember being a little distracted and just kind of being a little shook up by that. But the Royal Rumble was awesome last year, especially with Edge coming back. So yeah, I'll be doing a live reaction, and I do plan on also doing a reaction video to a Royal Rumble match this month as well. So keep a lookout for that. I've got it narrowed down to 2, but I think I know which one I'm going to do. I'm just going to live react to it, and I'll put a timer on the screen, upload it to YouTube, and we'll do a watch along together like I've done a couple of times in the past as well. So a lot of videos coming in January. A lot of videos. Okay, so there's no recurring talk shows that I have missed. Jericho does so much shit in the ring with a podium and stuff. I was wondering if I was missing something. But it is going to be a backstage deal with Britt Baker. Okay. I feel like in the ring is better because you can have brawls and pull-aparts and shit, but whatevs. That's cool. Hey, Chris. What's going on? Big Chris. Chris Ludecki for the $2. Appreciate it. Weren't they going to call Big Show Titan at first? I don't remember the Titan. I'm trying to remember what the rumors were. I remember when Jericho came in later on in the year, there was rumors of calling him Excalibur, who we see now on AEW Dynamite. And I remember being like, that's so stupid. Don't do it, because WWE was still a little bit in that, had that in them where they wanted to change people's gimmicks and characters and names all up. And I was really happy that they brought Jericho in as Jericho. Big Show, however, was the Giant in WCW, and you knew WWE was not going to bring him in as Andre the Giant's son. So he had to be changed somehow. And I don't recall the Titan thing, but that makes sense. Titan makes sense. I could have totally seen them doing that back then. Hey, Spaz Phoenix is here. What's going on? Thanks for the $10, dude. What's up, brother? Hope you and the whole chat are well. I think we are. I think we're hanging in there. If for anyone interested, Jake DeMarco did a deep dive on the upcoming Dusty Cup, and I started reviewing SmackDown because why the fuck not? So go check out Spaz Phoenix's YouTube channel. And give him a subscription, by the way. And I have not even looked at the, is the Dusty Cup brackets out? I haven't looked at them. I just know the Dusty Cup was announced. I haven't seen if they've made any brackets yet. I'm not that interested in it, to be honest with you, because I feel like tag teams are a bit weak right now, but I got to take a look at it. Gargano and Austin Theory have declared, and who else is in it? I don't know. Probably Grizzleds, probably Imperium, and who the fuck else? All the usual suspects. I know the tournament itself will be good because they're never not good. The matches will be awesome. But in terms of like who wins it, I kind of don't have a dog in the fight. Don't care. Interested too to see how the Sapphire Cup looks. And that's obviously just going to be a lot of women thrown together. Probably Candice and Indy will be together in that, and I don't know, Caden Carter and Casey or something, right? And people like that, they'll just be putting them together. Most likely, we'll see. If they're going to do a tag team tournament, you have to wonder if they're ever going to implement a women's tag team title. They probably will. Do I think Roman Reigns will win the Rumble? No, man, he's champ. I don't think he's going to be in the Rumble, much less win it. Bryan and Bianca Belair are the current favorites to win the Royal Rumble. I would love for Daniel Bryan to win it. That would be so great, because there was a couple of years there in a row, 2014 and 2015, when everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to win, and he didn't win either. and that upset a lot of fucking people. So it might be nice for WWE to give Daniel Bryan a Royal Rumble victory that he should have had many, many years ago. And it might be a nice way to say they're sorry to not only him, but to us for doing that to us. I love Batista. Batista's like my favorite person in the world, and they maybe hate him in 2014 with having him win like that, you know? Oh yeah, Ryan, that's good. If they're in it, I would be rooting for them hard. Absolutely. Raquel and Dakota to win the Dusty Cup. I want Raquel to be getting a title shot soon. I think she should be Diesel. Win the title. I don't want her beating Io Shirai in 8 seconds or anything, but I definitely want to see big things for Raquel, and winning the Dusty Cup with her friend Dakota might be a good start. Yeah, Zane, we talked about that. Have someone represent Adam Pearce in the title match at the Rumble, and I think we know who that's going to be. Most likely Kevin Owens, unless they do something really weird and they make a multi-man match or whatever. I really can't see them going through with Adam Pearce and Roman Reigns. They're going to have to change it before then, and even if they don't, maybe they change it match time or something. One way or the other, though, that match is not happening. I just can't see it happening. Spaz, thanks for 5 more. Somehow Brock and Goldberg win world titles, face each other at Mania. Miz cashes in and becomes undisputed champ. I don't want to see that, but that would be funny. Do you think Brock and Goldberg would go along with that? Brock versus Goldberg again at WrestleMania and Miz cashes in? Maybe, but I think Goldberg, we already saw Goldberg and Brock at WrestleMania a couple years back, and there's no way they'll ever be able to do better than that match. That was a pretty good match for both those guys. I was surprised how good it was. So not going to be able to exceed that. Miz has got that damn briefcase again. You got to think about him, man. He could turn up in the Goldberg and McIntyre match, maybe do something there. I just don't want to see Goldberg spear and pin McIntyre in the middle of the ring. That is going to drive me crazy. I'm going to shit a brick if that happens. I'm going to be very unhappy. So hopefully it won't. Hopefully it won't. Bruce brings up a good point. Braun Strowman is still lurking around. This is something I'd actually be okay with. I would normally hate this, but my main concern is not putting the title on Goldberg. Whatever you have to do to achieve that, do it. So maybe Strowman crashes the title match, shows up, beats the shit out of McIntyre and Goldberg, and basically announces that he's back, and he might even say, I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble too, or whatever. Placement of this match is also very important, where it lies on the card. I don't think Drew's going to drop that belt unless it's the main event. So if it's earlier on in the card, maybe it won't happen. I don't know. I could be wrong there. But maybe Strowman comes in, lays both of them out, and says, I want a shot at the title. I beat this bald piece of shit at WrestleMania, so he shouldn't even be here. Drew, I want you. I want the title, and I'm going to go into the Royal Rumble and win it, or something like that. And then he leaves, and then Mr. Mizanin shows up with his little green box and says, here, referee, ring the bell. I'm going to pin Drew McIntyre right now and win the title at the Royal Rumble. Strowman could play a role. He absolutely could. I kind of forgot about him. It's nice forgetting about Strowman. I wish I could forget about him forever, but he'll be back. And if he does something like that, I'd be okay with the match. Just get out of this match. Just don't put the fucking title on Goldberg. Unless it's something like where Strowman comes out, beats the hell out of McIntyre, and helps Goldberg win. Goldberg really doesn't like it, but he's champion or something like that. If you're going to put the title on Goldberg, for the love of fucking God, don't have him pin Drew McIntyre clean after a spear in the middle of the ring. That is just the worst thing you could do, I think, to McIntyre at this point. And I'd be so pissed if they did that. I'd be so pissed. But if you get all sorts of craziness happening, if you get lots of interference, if you get Strowman showing up or lots of people getting in the ring there and beating the shit out of McIntyre, allowing Goldberg to win or something like that, I guess maybe. But having The Miz get that briefcase back, like, why would they give it back to him? That was what I said on Monday. Why would they give The Miz the briefcase back if they're not going to have him successfully cash it in? Unless this is a way to tie in an eventual split with Morrison. Miz cashes in one more time. Morrison fucks up again, which he's been doing a lot lately. He's been losing their matches, getting pinned. He was the one that lost Miz's briefcase for him in the first place. So maybe if he does something again, that will finally put Miz over the top to attack Morrison and beat him up, and you can have their feud together. Maybe, but why go through the trouble of giving it back to him if he's not going to win the belt with it? You know? So it makes me nervous that maybe The Miz really could win the damn title. And having something happen in that Goldberg-McIntyre match could happen. I still can't see Miz going into WrestleMania as champion. That would be ridiculous to me. But he could have a quick run with it before WrestleMania. You know, maybe McIntyre beats him for it on Raw or something like that, and he becomes a 3-time WWE champion within the course of 1 year. That would be interesting. But whatever they do, I would not be surprised if The Miz walks out of the Royal Rumble as champion. I couldn't see him walking out of TLC, but for some reason, Royal Rumble seems more possible now, especially with Goldberg being involved. Strowman lurking around. Strowman could also be in the Royal Rumble, the 30th entrant. Maybe he could be a surprise entrant, something like that, and winning it. But that means Strowman gets a title shot at WrestleMania, and no. So, this could be cool. Maybe it would be a deal where he comes out. You do McIntyre and Goldberg early. Strowman comes out, and costs McIntyre the match, or attacks both guys, or allows Miz to cash in the briefcase. One way or the other, he screws over McIntyre. McIntyre shows up in the Royal Rumble and eliminates Strowman, beats the hell out of him. That gets him out of the Rumble somehow. So Strowman winning the Rumble is not something I want to see, but Strowman getting a title shot maybe prior to WrestleMania is okay. So if he gets a title shot against Drew, either at Fastlane or Chamber, I'm guessing they're doing both. I don't even know the pay-per-view schedule, but if he gets a title shot against one of them, then or one of those, then you can get that out of the way. But then what does he do at WrestleMania? Win a Battle Royal, team with Nicholas? I don't know what their plans are for Strowman, but he's been off TV enough time now to where they should have put some thought into what to do with him when he does return. But of course, this is WWE we're talking about, and I don't think they put thought into anything. So we'll see what happens when he comes back. It's interesting. Here's Ryan Roode with a suggestion. Miz cashes in at the Rumble. Morrison messes up and Drew pins Miz, so you don't beat Goldberg and you do Goldberg versus Miz at WrestleMania. No, you don't do Goldberg and Miz at WrestleMania. No, goddamn no. I'm fine with all of that except for the WrestleMania part. But why would Goldberg face Miz then? Neither one would be champion, right? If Miz screws up, Drew pins Miz. Seems like Miz's if Morrison messes up, then it seems like Miz's issue will be with Morrison and not with Goldberg. And Goldberg versus the Miz at WrestleMania would just be a mismatch. Goldberg would spear him in 2 seconds and pin him. Goldberg's not going to let Miz beat him. No way. If Goldberg faced Roman at Mania, as great as Roman is as a heel, which is awesome, Roman with fans would be the face against Goldberg. Yes, he would be the face against Goldberg. Absolutely. That's why I'm not sure if they'll do that match there. I think whenever Goldberg has his last match, it should be against Roman Reigns. But we don't know when that is. We were talking on Monday that maybe all this somehow ties into some sort of a Goldberg retirement. But I think if I've read the stories right and some of the reports, I think he's got a couple of matches for the next couple of years. We're going to see Goldberg in the ring like 3 or 4 more times, which is ridiculous. That's 4 times too many. So whenever he finally is done, I think Roman should pin him, just beat him. Not have Goldberg beat him first and then Roman beat him back or anything like that. Just have Roman Reigns fucking beat him, spear him, pin him, be done with him, make it a retirement match for Goldberg and get him the hell out of our lives before he ruins them. So like I said, I don't mind Goldberg being around. Even though I was never a Goldberg fan back in the day, I don't necessarily mind him being there because for him to be still in that type of shape, use him on TV. Sure, you can bring him back for an attraction match here and there, but when you're putting the title on him multiple times, when he's squashing Brock, and he's winning the title from Kevin Owens, and then he's winning the title from The Fiend, and he's doing all this shit, he's going to come back and win the title again against McIntyre. He got put down clean with a power slam at WrestleMania by Braun Strowman. Now he's going to come back and beat McIntyre. Why? What for? Why? So just tell me, WWE, what's the fucking point here? You're going to alienate your audience even more than you already do. I can't think of too many wrestling fans that are going to be okay with that. Plenty of people like Goldberg. Plenty of people believe that he's a legend, like him, and appreciate him. But even they, I don't think, would really approve of him just spearing and pinning their champion that they've spent, the better part of a year building up to get to this point, winning the Royal Rumble, being so dominant, putting down Brock, and then just end him to Goldberg. Instead of Drew going on a long run and maybe losing to somebody that can be elevated as a result of that loss, like a Bobby Lashley or somebody like that, to waste it on Goldberg is so stupid. So stupid. Like I said, unless they want to give Drew maybe if they want to make him a 3-time champion going into next year's WrestleMania, take the belt off of him, put it on Goldberg, maybe with some help from somebody else, Braun Strowman, or maybe The Miz gets involved and cashes in some way there, and then Drew wins it back at the next pay-per-view. But we already saw that too. Drew dropped the belt to Orton, won it back at Raw. So unless they just want to fast track Drew into a few title runs here, I don't see the point, and I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. And I just don't know. I mean, this could lead to, you got to think about other people. Sheamus, Keith Lee, maybe somebody like that gets involved and sets up a program with Goldberg. Maybe we get Keith Lee and Goldberg at WrestleMania, or maybe Sheamus and Goldberg, or I don't know why they'd want to do that, but I think there's a lot of factors at play. I think you could see Sheamus, you could see Keith Lee, you could potentially even see AJ Styles, you could see Braun Strowman, and you could see The Miz and Morrison all potentially sticking their snouts in this match. And if that happens, then I suppose the outcome won't bother me as much. There's only one outcome I want to avoid, and that's what we saw in Saudi Arabia with The Fiend and Goldberg. Give me anything other than that, and I'll probably survive. But if they do that again, there's going to be a problem in Good Mic Work Land, and it ain't going to be pretty. So buckle up. We'll see what happens. Ought to be fun, one way or the other. Well, that's going to be about it for me. I'm going to answer a couple more of these questions, and then I'm going to go ahead and bail out of here. Just as a reminder, since the chat is dropping a little bit low here, people are starting to leave. I want to remind you tomorrow, brand new Classic Royal Rumble is premiering on the channel, noon Eastern time, 9 Pacific, 6 a.m. if you live with Barry and Devlin in Hawaii. So keep a lookout for that. It should be fun, and then I'll be back up here Monday night as well, as always, for our Monday Night Raw review. Oh, thanks for that, Ryan Roode. Yeah, and we don't even know how many that is either. I think, does he have 2 or 3 matches contracted to him every year? So, I mean, if he has 2 and they use one of them to give him the title, just, my God. My God. And it makes me nervous. We talked about that because based on how bad the ratings are, this is what WWE thinks fixes ratings. And that's what's scary, is they might actually go through with this at the expense of some of their more than capable talent that they have there. Having them take a backseat to somebody like Goldberg doesn't make Good Mic Work happy at all. Lesnar versus Goldberg for the Universal title at SummerSlam. I don't want to see that. We saw Lesnar and Goldberg already. Why do that again? I'm fine with Lesnar and Goldberg wrestling at SummerSlam, but maybe different opponents. Like I said, I want to see Lesnar and like Lashley. I'd go Lesnar-Lashley for SummerSlam. Not Mania. It's too early. Lesnar-Lashley. Because Lesnar's not going to come back in and lose every match he's in. We're going to see him. He might take the entire 2021 off. Doesn't seem like there's any immediate plans to bring Brock back in, at least right now, unless they want him there for a Mania payday. But if he can get back cooking sometime next year and you send him on a collision course with Lashley, I'd be into that. But it's time for Lesnar and Goldberg, if they're going to have a couple of matches left in them each, you know, to start using them in a way that's going to pass some of that on to the current stars and have them drop their matches to them. I don't want to see them wrestle each other anymore. And I would love, and if Lashley and Goldberg ever happens, absolutely I want Lashley to win. I think he needs that. He needs that bad. We didn't see Big Eric Redbeard this week on AEW, Kurt, but I would love to see him be in the Dark Order. Being the new boss of the Dark Order, the only problem I have with that is he's not going to live up to Brody. Brody was so goddamn entertaining in that role, and he was so good in that role. I don't know how funny Rowan is, you know. Nobody's going to be able to replace Brody and do as good as him in that role, but Eric Rowan would be a fitting choice based on the history he has with Brody, but him being in that specific role, I don't know, maybe he could. He's done some goofy shit before. He had that cage on Raw that he carried around for months or whatever. So if they put him in that role, it might work out. It might work out. We'll see. Definitely want to see him back there, though. Would I prefer Goldberg or Pearce to win at the Royal Rumble if one had to win? Taylor, you are making it hard, man. Probably Pearce, to be honest, because Pearce is going to win. He's going to have all sorts of help from Kevin Owens. That might be fun. You talk about revenge for Kevin Owens. Maybe they do go through with the match, and then Owens crashes it and just beats the hell out of Roman Reigns and allows Adam Pearce to win the WWE title. That's how much I don't dislike Goldberg. I just dislike him in these type of matches. So that really shows you how much I don't want him to win. I'm willing to pick Adam Pearce to beat Roman Reigns, the hottest heel in the company right now, the hottest thing going, the hottest angle in the company, and he's going to drop it to a guy that's a backstage official that's never worked a match in WWE. I'd be more in favor of that than Goldberg winning. And Roman and Goldberg has got to happen at some point, you would think. It's got to. Hey, Jordan Carr, good to see you. What's up? Glad you're here, but I'm about to bail out, so I'm about to say goodbye to everybody. I don't know, Ryan, if you do Charlotte versus Asuka at the Rumble, do you have them drop the tag belts before the Rumble? You don't have to, because we've seen this a million times in the past with WWE. If they have no problem having tag team champions feud with each other. It's their thing. They just did it with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as well. So I don't think you have to have that. You can have, especially if Charlotte at least remains babyface. I know she got in her dad's face a little bit on Raw, but if she remains babyface going into this, you can have like the friendly title match, the friendly competition. Oh, we're going to keep it cool and still be friends after or whatever. But I think we know better. I'd probably get the belts off them as soon as we could. I just don't know who they're going to drop them to, unless they drop them back to Shayna and Nia. And then maybe from there, you see somebody like Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose beat them for the titles. I'd be fine with that. I'm ready for those belts to be on different teams. Maybe somebody that's an actual team. Mandy and Dana are an odd pairing, but they are a team now, so put it on them. Let them have it. I don't know. But Charlotte and Asuka seems likely to me for the Rumble. As long as if we get Charlotte versus Asuka or Charlotte versus Ripley at WrestleMania, I'm a happy guy. Those are really the only two matches on the Raw side I can see happening. Potential with a triple threat as well with all three of them. But I think one of those two matches needs to happen and the title needs to be involved. And maybe the night after Raw, we've all talked about the possibility of Becky Lynch showing up, and can she get herself in shape to get in the ring and actually work WrestleMania? I'd probably say not, but it would be really cool if she was one of the big names that we saw turn up on the night after, because, Monday Night Raws after WrestleMania are usually pretty big. We usually get some surprises, some returns, some debuts, whatever. Becky Lynch would be a good one to have show up. Maybe Rhea Ripley's in the ring celebrating her victory, and she's the new Raw Women's Champion. Oh, and you hear Becky's music hits and the Thunderdome goes wild. Could happen. 11th commandment, never trust a flare. That's a good one. Thank you for bringing him up. I don't know. I don't think so, Ratnick. I think you mean seeing Cena like this, Cena behaving in such a way that Roman does? No, I don't think we will. I think we could have. I think we should have. In 2013, what Roman is doing right now, Cena should have been doing. Imagine that. Imagine in 2013, if we had Cena with the same attitude as Roman has now. That would be money. Money, 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 especially with some of the things he could say to the crowd and the audience the night after beating The Rock for the title and all of that. It would be amazing. Nowadays, Cena's Hollywood. He's I think when he comes back to WWE, it's going to be in and out. He'll win a world title again and everything, but I think he's going to be Cena forever. I think if they were going to do that with him, the ship has sailed. I'm not saying it can't happen. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt we'll see Cena take that role, because you already have Roman. You don't need two of those. So, and plus nobody's going to do it better than Roman. Roman's fantastic. But back in 2013, I think Cena could have been as big as Hollywood Hulk Hogan. They dropped the ball. So huge. So huge. I've been a Cena defender my whole life. I know the guy can do it. I know he's good. He's good match of the year candidates every single year he gets in the ring. But for some reason, him really sticking to his guns there in that character, and WWE being too scared to go in different directions with him, really made the fans suffer, and they lost a lot of money. That would have been great. And I think that's part of the reason why they did this with Roman now. They don't want to make that mistake again. They don't want to say, we hesitated. We didn't pull the trigger when we had the chance, and it cost us. So let's do it with Roman, and look, it's paying off. So yeah, I think it's too late. But if Cena would have done that and become a Hollywood Hogan or a Rock, or basically just told the fans to go fuck themselves, that would have been glorious. Absolutely glorious. But I think it's too late. I think it's too late now. So anyway, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Those of you that are still here, please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me on your way out the door. I'd appreciate it. And don't forget, we got a brand new Classic Royal Rumble review premiering tomorrow. I'm going to do the premiere feature. Haven't used it in a while. That'll be up at noon Eastern time. And then Monday night, immediately following Raw, join us live for a full show review. Chris Miner throwing $2 at me and on our way out the door, greatest surprise entrant in Royal Rumble history. You've got Styles. Styles is on my list. Edge is on my list. Oh, fuck. I like 2002 when we had Goldust coming back and Mr. Perfect. Diesel, a couple of years. I'd have to think on it who my absolute favorite was, but the best pops and the best crowd reactions, Styles, Edge. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chris, and I appreciate you being here. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight, and I will catch you live again on Monday, and I'll catch you for a fun review tomorrow. Y'all be good and have